race for $1 million has come to New York City, and it is without doubt going to be the most intense and exciting so far. Edge of the seat action, guaranteed.
This racetrack is so small and the wind is all over the place. We've been watching the lead up to this race come on. The boats are having all sorts of dramas, just trying to work out the racetrack, work out where the wind's going to come through the Jersey side. It's just hitting the water and exploding. We've got 25 seconds to go, and it looks like there's no wind in the box, but out wide there's plenty on.
I mean, how do you judge your time and distance? Electronics are useless. It's real seat of the pants sailing here.
And we'll look here, we've got Australia. Tommy Slingsby's trying to get that pin end. He's going for a bit of a ride. Japan is in the middle. Everyone's a little bit tentative because they just know what they're about to go out to in the middle of this course. Looks like Australia might get the whole shot, and we are off and racing. Japan in the middle, France, a nice job up the top. China not foiling, USA not foiling. USA have got a new wing trimmer, so they've got a little bit on. Australia, nice job there, off and running. Here's the battle already between Australia and Japan.
Look at the wind difference, Jodie. I mean, Australia just came a cropper there. They had a massive punch of wind.
You can see there in the on the screen, there's no wind where Australia are. Japan have been lucky here. They've been able to go through and keep foiling, and then it looks like they're going to get to this first mark in first place. France are nearly going to go over. They need to save that. Very close moment there for Team France. What's happening is the wind is coming over the shore and literally exploding on the top of these guys' wings, and they cannot even see the wind hit them. So they're almost sailing blind. It is very, very sketchy out here, that's for sure. USA coming into third spot. China into fourth. France look like they've not coming out the spot. They might have done something wrong. We're just coming on to a replay here. You see Japan coming along. And they're trying to get through around this mark. You look at Australia in behind them there. Japan jibing off early. And it is just this breeze everywhere. We've got still Japan leading the race, Australia coming over to the right-hand side. If you notice that the bottom mark is very, very close to the city side, so they've had a lot of dramas trying to set up where they're going to do this race, Shirley.
I mean, we can see on the helicopter shot, we can see the dark patches, the big puffs of breeze that are coming over those buildings in New Jersey and heading at the boats.
And it looks like Japan have done the best job in linking up this wind because they're coming down to the bottom mark. Very, very short course, half a nautical mile from the bottom mark to the top, and it's Japan going in to the bottom mark in first place, followed very closely by Australia, who interestingly enough are going to go on that left-hand side where it's very, very short over to the boundary. So China coming in third. Nice job there with Phil Robertson and his boys. They need a bit of redemption out of San Fran, that's for sure.
Massive difference in pressure from 5 knots to 30 knots. We've seen everything out on this racetrack today.
And what they were saying in the lead up to all this was if they can go to the left-hand side, it's almost one leg up to the top because it's so, the breeze just coming out and just exploding on the racetrack. So it'll be interesting to see if Japan can go all the way to the top. Poor old America, they are stuck in the middle of the course with no breeze and really struggling to get back down to this bottom end.
Of course, Jodie, difficult build-up today for the Americans. They lost their vital, their throttle man, the guy who controls the wing, out injured. Got someone brand new in, the shore manager. So really, the hardest conditions for him.
Just trying to learn how to sail these boats in absolutely sketchy conditions.
Good to sail without much water, bro.
And they look like they are just sitting it down. Who knows, they might decide to pull out of it. They're actually going upwind by the sounds of the onboard. We might just stick with them if we can hear them. Yeah, it sounds like they're not going to maybe continue in this race. We'll soon see. Australia have tacked off the New York City side of the course and come back into and listen on board with Australia here.
Kyle Langford doing all the talking. He is in charge of performance, of keeping the boat going in the best mode possible.
And have a look at the lead change here. Australia have got something off that New York side, and Japan, who tacked over off the right-hand boundary, have got nothing. Just as we said that, Australia have flattened out, and it will be Japan's turn to get this breeze.
But Jodie, it is never over. And for the sailing fans at home watching this, do not go away. Anything can happen here in New York City.
These boats, 25 metres apart. One's doing 27 knots, the other's doing 5 knots. That's how gusty it is here in this racetrack. Australia, who was second at the bottom mark, have now got a 100-metre lead within no time of their nearest rival in Japan, and Australia look like they're going to the left-hand top mark. Then they've got no run out from the top mark down to the boundary. It's very, very close, so they need to get out of here as quick as they can.
You know, Tom Slingsby did well there. He strung together the puffs, which has got to be the ideal here. And of course, much confidence in his team, can sail in any condition.
And have a look at that. Japan are absolutely nothing. They cannot foil, they're hardly moving. Meanwhile, Australia are heading downhill, probably about 25 to 30 knots on what at this stage could be a quite comfortable lead, because no one else seems to be in breath. And there we are, Australia just absolutely flying straight down the course in what looks like a really nice puff there, Shirley.
So we're probably going to go left turn. Okay, hard gusts here, chopper puff with it. And let's stand by, I'm going to take it pretty safe here. Got it.
And you heard there the comms. We'll just try and listen to the guys as they go through this jibe.
Turn there. Let us know about the lock, langers.
They're keeping it safe, Jody, aren't they? Because you cannot see these puffs, and they've got huge intensity.
And here we go. The Chinese and Japanese have finally made it back up to this top mark. They're only 150 metres away, but they're absolutely drifting up here. And it almost looks like they're on separate tacks. One breeze is coming from the left, one breeze looks like it's almost coming from the right. Japan have got no wind at all. China trying to tack in around that left-hand top gate.
I think we may well see the Japanese go for that right-hand gate just to avoid another jibe.
And China around, they need to get out of there. Good work by Phil Robertson. He didn't have a very good race down in San Francisco, and he is absolutely up for a redemption. Australia are down around that bottom mark and heading back up the top for the second time with a nice lead, almost a full leg ahead, Shirley.
Phil Robertson, match racing world champion, used to sailing in this kind of, you know, cityscape, tough vein, and I think this place really playing to his hands.
And look at this, Japan are over to the left. They're all but just drifting out with the tide, same as China. They're in no breeze, yet you look down the bottom end of the racetrack, Australia is still, well, they just dropped off the foils just as we were speaking, but there's in pressure. Japan now picking up wind from the left-hand side, so it was all about the right not long ago.
Nice and low, Parker.
Try and break.
Yep. Beautiful. Okay, next out. Slowly lifting here.
And both boats now have picked up that breeze. That was really nice comms there from on board of Japan. You just see the concentration level of Ian Jensen there, just trying to make sure that their boat stays up. They don't want to be like Great Britain and put that boat in the water, that's for sure.
You don't normally hear Nathan so much, but now there is so much going on, he's having to communicate.
And the breeze looks like it's come way out of the right-hand side all of a sudden, because Australia attacking in to head back up towards the top. Very, very close here between Japan and China coming into this bottom mark. Looks like China might have the inside running. Oh, very, very close. Who's going to get the zone first? And Japan just straight through underneath them. And Japan have taken it. And around they go, just in front of China. So that was pretty sketchy there for a while, Shirley.
It didn't matter in the end, did it? Because Nathan and the Japanese team just went round the outside with more pressure. And heading off to the New Jersey side of this racetrack with great speed.
Trying to chase down that Australian boat, who are probably almost at the top mark now. Nathan out, he's looking over his shoulder, seeing where China is. And there you have it, Australia up and around the top, on their way back down. Beautiful shot there of the boats just up and out. You can see how out of control they are, trying to keep these things level because the gust of winds are just coming at them and it's hitting the top of the wing. It's almost impossible for these sailors to see where this wind's coming from.
You know, keeping these boats flying and keeping them on their wheels requires coordination of three people and the grunt of those grinders. And to coordinate that when you cannot anticipate what's going to happen next is as tough as it gets.
And you see here they're back into that left-hand no wind area. Yet Australia are coming back downwind, foiling. They're going to probably split these two boats in a jibe here. So this is their last turn down to the bottom mark for Australia. They need to go back up the top and then across in towards New York for the finish and a win for race one. But no one's going to call it yet, Shirley. There's still lots to happen on this race.
Great start, though, for the Australian team. I mean, many people said they sort of jagged that victory in San Francisco. It was handed to them because the Japanese had gear damage, but they've come out firing here and looking for that victory.
Yeah, so if they can keep this form going, they'll get the chockies after this race, but it's still got lots to go. It's good to see that the USA is still racing. France are parked up at the very top of the course in absolutely no wind as well. On board here with the Rome. We'll listen to the comms here for a while.
Right turn, yeah? Right turn it is. My rig or yours? My rig, and then yours for the turn. Okay. Okay. We're going right turn. Says your wings on, Jeff? Yep, I got him. Yep.
Well, they're having to talk through every manoeuvre. Jeff Causey standing in for Riley Gibbs.
Australia just got hit by a massive gust just as they come into the thing, and they literally slid sideways. They just hit the zone, the boat slid sideways, and I think they might have just dodged a bullet there, to be honest, Australia. That was pretty scary. You see them just trying to get up now. That's very dangerous. Bow goes right down. The flight controller, Jason Waterhouse, is having all sorts of dramas trying to keep this boat level and flat. They've got so much on these guys at the moment. Just as we talked, we said they've got the race won. They nearly seen it there. They nearly capsized. That could have been another big moment in this race.
It is all own, Jodie. You have to coordinate the steering, the flight control, the level of the platform and the wing all at the same time. And when the variables are changing so much, it's almost impossible.
France there and lots of breeze. Just put the windward hull in. So what you're finding is they're controlling the boat for what they think is about 10 to 15 knots. Yet at the top of the rig, there's probably 25 to 30 knot gusts hitting them, and the boat just all of a sudden gets so out of balance and out of control. These are the best sailors in the world, and they're finding it hard. That's how sketchy these conditions are.
Good pressure out of this, Gibby. Copy. My wheel.
San Francisco, Jodie, was all about speed and accuracy, but here it's a whole different sport. This is about reactions, about keeping the boat on its feet. It's tough.
I think it's cross your fingers and hope for the best, to be perfectly honest, because who knows what this is going to throw out in this course. Phil Roberts is still pushing hard. Oh, bow goes in. That's when it all gets ugly. As soon as that bow can load up, the boat can just trip straight over the top of itself, and they have a Great Britain moment, which is not what we want to see. Japan in a beautiful bit of breeze there, getting some real big numbers coming down this bottom of the course. Yet Australia are slowly but surely working their way up. Maybe one more tack into that top, and then the big reach in towards New York for a very happy win for them guys. They'll be glad to get this one under the belt, that's for sure.
The next cross, but should be okay.
So much chat on board. We're not used to that from the guys at the front. They have to communicate what's happening. We heard Jason there saying, it's getting funky, it's going to get difficult.
Yeah, the guys are very, very nervous about sailing in these very, very short course, very, very tricky wind direction, and it's certainly showing from the comms on board. Australia's tacked there for their last time. And what they've got to be careful of here, you'll see on the screen there, there's light airs, light patches of air right on this next turning mark. 20 metres in front of that, there's 15 to 20 knots. Up above that, it could be 30. Now, this is going to be that real power zone angle coming into this finish mark. So anything could happen here, Shirley.
Okay, coming into more pressure here, boys. Okay, line patch at 2, 1, and big puff on at 3, 2, 1, puff on. My bailout's up. Big soft spot, boys, at 3, 2, 1, hit it. Nice work, and puff back on at 3, 2, 1, big one here. And we're going to do a left turn at the top end of the line. Copy. Pretty steady breeze here.
Massive work for the grinders, Jodie. I mean, that wing sheet is in and out constantly.
Their shoulders will definitely be burning after this, that's for sure. Look how loose this boat is coming across into this finish line. They've got swell to contend with, they've got everything. They've got gusts of wind, and they've got the wind of this race just sitting there. They just need to get this boat through
And they've got a hard wall. They have to make a massive left-hand turn here.
You watch the bow of that boat just going up and down. Jason Waterhouse has got his work cut out. And there they go through the finish line. A very, very relieved bunch of sailors on that boat, that's for sure. They'll be loving the fact that they can now have a break and have a restock. But there's still a race to be had, and it's Japan in second doing nothing. They're not foiling at all. They are just almost drifting up into this top mark. Yet Australia went across there at Mach 2 speed. This race course is just a serious lottery at this stage. Look at China coming back. They could...
Potentially overstood here.
China could come right back here. They're in a bit of pressure. They could come back and steal a position out of France. This could be a very interesting finish here. Japan just tacking over now. They've still got one more tack. You see him just entering the zone now. Surely they've got to tack around and head into that finish. But the race is on between France, China for the third place. France now is just picking up a little bit of pressure.
Well, we just heard on the onboards of Japan that the pumps are overheating. They're adjusting everything so much, and they're going to have to rein that in a bit.
So Japan have finally got through their last manoeuvre. You hear Nathan Outridge here talking about this pressure. We might just try and listen to this a little bit. It's interesting, Shirley, they're not as active on the chat as what the Australians were on this reach at this stage.
Big tough, down at the end of the park. Big tough. I think we'll be okay, Parker. Copy that.
The coordination between all the sailors, you can just see it there. They depend on everyone to do their job at 100% accuracy. 33 knots.
Just as we get along.
And they just struggling to foil a little bit there.
Happy just to cruise here, no stress from behind.
You hear there from Nathan Outridge, he's happy just to get this one under the belt as well. There's some nervous sailors out there. They're just about to get a big bit of pressure. Coming in towards the finish. Australia are having their lollies and their chocolates. They're all right. They got their number in, but Japan are just going to go over the finish line now for second spot.
Nice job, guys.
So now we've got to just hope to see where this race is between France and China in for third place. So Nathan there with a little bit of relief. Shirley, second. Take second pretty much every day, wouldn't you? Unless Australia's in front of you.
I'm not sure. This is a battle that's going to run all the way to Marseille, and you know, in many ways he feels robbed from San Francisco and wants redemption. But you know, he survived that first race, and it was not straightforward.
Well, there you have it. China is in third. France still had another lap to go, so we never picked that up on the thing. That's how they must have just sat in a hole somewhere, and they are still got to go down to the bottom. So it's China. Phil Robertson, who had a very bad San Francisco, he will admit it, up and down. He's in a bit of trouble here. He needs to make sure this boat settles down. That is very, very sketchy. They're just going to leave the hull down and just go through that finish line. That could have been another moment there, Shirley. It's just coming from everywhere. We just can't pick what's going to happen.
So easy to get out of whack, especially for the less experienced. And we've just seen the Japanese
penalty Japan against Australia, port starboard.
Against the Australians.
But we have a race unfolding right in front of us. And as you can see, Japan are wearing their penalty, so they have to wash it off once the race has started. They have to be one boat length behind, the rest of the fleet. I don't think that's going to be a problem. Rome Kirby's with his new wing trimmer. It looks like he's going to get a great start here, and they are off. Well done to Rome and the USA team there, Shirley. Great start.
Really tough for him, you know. He's got an alternate in, and you can see he's struggling already to keep the boat flying.
Straight off the start, it is Billy Besson and then a French team leading. He'll be so happy that he's got this boat in the first position. They have struggled a fair bit, but look at the boats. They're going up, they're foiling. Within 5 metres, they're just dropping off in the lulls. They have got so much on. I don't know how good your French is there, Shirley, but I'm pretty sure you're saying...
I think he's saying there's a big puff of wind for this fairway, and we can see it from this helicopter shot.
Yeah, I'm running with that as well. That's exactly what he said. So French in first. Japan, after having their penalty, they're into second spot. So there's the lottery. It's the first reach. They've started one boat length behind everyone. Already they're in second spot, but that's going to change. We know that for a fact. China in third, Australia in fourth. USA, after leading off the start, sitting it down at dead last. They've had 3 lead changes in 1 leg already. It's insane.
Big man down here, guys, stand by, jive.
Australia, Japan, China, all trying to get over this right-hand side. France have jived off in nothing, absolutely nothing. USA coming down, and they've just had a moment. They just put the bows in. The wind is just exploding. Looks like they've actually missed the bottom gate here, Shirley. What's going on there?
I think absolutely right. Just as they were going to jive, they got hit by that big puff of pressure. And so slightly late on the jive coming across, but still going at good pace. Look at the Australians. 2 hulls in.
So the team that caught the penalty off the start started last. First bottom gate, they are into the gate in first position. Great race between China and Australia. France are in fourth, USA in fifth. Japan now around the bottom left-hand mark. Australia coming in super hot. This has got, look at that, so much pressure on that top of that wing. Big bear away round up there for Australia. Oh, so much happening. Yeah, 3 metres behind and France are both hulls down.
Keep it simple, keep it simple. You can see just ahead of the Japanese, going to sail into a load of pressure.
Just have a listen. We're just going to go to this chit-chat of all these boats. Listen to the amount of communication. Everyone is just full noise on their comms here.
Okay, but that's the pressure. Where's ley line? Little press.
The best sailors in the world don't know what's going on. God help the rest of us. This is...
Okay, send it, boys. Here we go.
Quick slow coming up, 2-1, big trip lads.
So it's all changed now. Japan still leading. China in second, USA in third, possibly just in front of Australia once they tack off that other shore.
Push the run left one stop. Yeah.
You can hear Nathan there just coaching them all, just always coaching them to try and keep the boat steady. Looks like China are in a nice bit of pressure off their hip there.
Tony, there's a lot of decisions to make, and normally you can just kind of follow the playbook. But in this sort of racing, you're going to have to discuss it. You're going to have to make sure everyone knows what's going on.
Looks like there were 30, 40 degree wind shifts, 10 metres apart. So Japan tacked over. China's now tacking over. So they're setting themselves up for the top end of the course here. Japan should still be leading this race, but it's going to be very, very close. If China can come over and maybe split tacks, Japan up and foiling now.
You know, Jody, we wondered after San Francisco when China nearly capsized if Phil Robertson had lost his bottle, but he is sending it. He is relishing this type of racing here in New York City.
It's a racer's racetrack, that's for sure, because there's so much going on. Australia foiling in there beautifully. Probably in about third spot. Maybe if they can nail their tack, they'll put a little bit of pressure on these two guys. Japan coming across looking like a bit of speed. China looks like they're a little bit soft there, Shirley. And as you can see, they're, what, 15, 20, 30 metres apart.
I think a little bit of wing wash also off the Japanese, but still got plenty of pace.
Yeah, Japan's got the pressure in now. China's going to be comfortably still in second. Australia will probably not go to this left-hand mark. I'm guessing they're just going to go straight over to that right gate and then just head down and maybe pick something up along that New York City side.
2, 1, go on. Yep, no wind. Big trip, big trip.
Oh, bow down there in China. They need to be very careful the top of the rig doesn't cop as one of those helicopter gusts like you see, because that will just literally trip them over because the bow's in the water and it just, the boat can't accelerate. And look at Australia go. They went to that right-hand gate like I thought, and they are in an absolute gale out there.
Got to link the pressure, link the gusts.
China in no breeze at all. Australia going to jibe it very, very soon, and will be smoking down into this bottom gate, just like Japan are. Look at that.
Starting a little front of
Jib's doing nothing.
Coming back into it now.
They're actually saying that they're taking the hydraulic pressure, or the hydraulic operation out of the jib trim because they're overheating their pumps too much. So they're just going to set their jibs up the way they wanted for a gust, and then do the rest of the pumps. China around now. Oh, bows in. Bow, very careful, up and down. This is where they've got to try and not overreact. It's very easy for Luke Parkinson there in the flight control to overcorrect and try and bring the boat down. He just needs the foils to do it themselves. Nathan's lost his goggles there, so he's obviously got a big bit of water smacking him in the face. Australia in a massive amount of breeze there. Look at the amount of wing twist they're carrying there, Shirley. 45 degrees they can carry from the bottom to the top. I reckon they're carrying the whole lot. Oh!
Split sides though, Jodie, they have split sides, so tactically it is all on between first and second here. Who is going to get the pressure to get to that top mark?
And you can see just behind Australia there, that big line of wind that Australia came down and had that pretty hairy moment as they went up and around, but now they're struggling the foil, so they're back in one of those real light patches. Still heading over to the left-hand side, so as you said, Shirley, massive split here between the two. Remember, this is only the second upwind. Still a fair bit of racing to go yet. Japan look all right off the New York side, that's for sure, at this stage.
You could see Sam Newton, the grinder on the Australian boat, gasping for air. They have never worked so hard. They're making so many adjustments to that wing sheet. They are just constantly grinding.
They'll have to replace their pumps tonight. They'll put brand new pumps in there because these things will be dead set worn out by the time we've had 3 races here in New York. So here we are on board with Japan, just going through the tack now. So they possibly should set themselves up here for the top end of the course. And they're going to come across. You look at Nathan there, just checking out to see where the Australians were. Nice close race here between China, France and USA. Looks like they're going over the left-hand side of the course, Shirley.
What a race this is turning out to be for third spot. This will run and run. Phil Robertson, the Chinese team, had the most amount of practice here and definitely working on the communication between the flight controller, the wing trimmer and the helm, and I think that's paying real dividends today.
And that shot there off the helicopter just shows an unbelievably great example of how much wind, no wind, wind, no wind, wind, no wind there is in this course. There is so many dark lines and then so many no patches of breeze that these guys, like you said before, have to try and link all the breeze up. And it's just choosing impossible, finding them impossible.
We've seen a lot of the Manhattan skyline, but the other side, the side where we're filming from, is New Jersey, and the buildings there, they're not to be sniffed at, are they? Some of them are nearly 300 meters, really affecting, shadowing and funneling the breeze that are hitting the boats.
We might just listen to Japan here on the onboard because they sound like they're a little bit sketchy about this drive coming in.
Been working hard. This is second top mark. Would be nice. Just squeeze your marks, Lingo, when you can. Yeah, could be.
We're actually on board with Australia there, so
real good pressure on the mark. Yeah, just gonna lay it. Trim us up.
You can hear Kyle Langford trying to keep the calmness in the boat as well, so everyone doesn't get too overinflated, too excited about what they're trying to achieve here.
Kyle Langford, the wing trimmer, he's 100% responsible for the performance. So he'll be calling the modes and the adjustments, even the steering, just coordinating the 3 people who are essentially in charge of the pace of this.
But have a look at that. They look like they're in about 4 knots of breeze. They're just getting up and foiling, and about 6 to 8 knots of breeze to foil. Yet Japan now, probably 2/3 of the way down to the bottom mark, and they're sailing off. Look at China, they went around in a pretty good spot. They're very close, all these 3 boats. China's in no breeze. France is in the middle, of course, they've got wind now. USA, who are currently coming last, if they can tack off that shore, they can pull 3 spots. Just like that, it is just such a snakes and ladders.
You can't get frustrated though. You have to just take a deep breath and wait for whatever hits you. You cannot get stressed about this.
And it looks like USA tacked in a real big header, so they went around, literally sat it down, and they're only just starting to get the boat moved now. Billy Besson and his French team have done the same thing. They are tacking, and they're wound it up pretty quick. Though. Looks like they might be able to get it up and go foiling. But it is Japan who have got down to the bottom mark for the final time in this race. They've just got one more upwind to do and then into the finish. But I'm not going to call them as the winner yet. Who knows what's going to unfold in the next couple of minutes. Look at the breeze they're in.
Nathan Outridge is throwing that boat around. I mean, he seems more confident with it in this race. He's found his feet.
Just going all the way up the shore. Yep.
Australia are catching up, but they're coming back. The rivalry is continuing. How does it always work out that these pair of boats always seem to be right next to each other? It is incredible.
This will run and run. I mean, they're such high quality on all boat. There is not a weak link anywhere.
Really good breeze out.
You see there, Tom just really turns the boat pretty hard to get that thing around. Japan look like they picked up a little bit of a left-hand shift in the middle of the course, which is going to take them straight up towards the marks where they really will be hoping that can get to as quick as they can, because they don't want to see that green boat with that beautiful kangaroo
He's
on it.
looking, Johnny. He's looking behind.
He's worried.
He knows exactly where the Australians are.
Yeah, he's definitely worried, as you should be, because you can sit down. And you just heard Nathan there that the Aussies just sat down as well. We might just listen in to see what their trainer thought is here.
2, 1, forward angle. Yours.
Look at the Aussies, Jodie. 4 knots of boat speed. As you said, they need 15, 16 to get up on the wheels.
So Japan got through that little patch. They are just foiling, putting some serious meters in their Australian arrivals at this stage. Australia aren't careful. China could come in still second spot. Anything is possible at this stage. Looks like there's a little bit of breeze coming in towards the Australians. You just see the dark patch right in front of the Australian boat. So they're just about to get this breeze now.
Jason Waterice, the flight controller, we just saw him there. He is fully locked in to watching that leeward bow. In San Francisco, he didn't even know how they were getting on. To ask at the finish, he's so concentrated. And today, his eyes are not coming off that bow at all.
And Japan attack for the final time, coming in to the top mark in not much breeze. So they're just hoping they can turn this boat around, head that thing in towards the finish, and get over the finish line for a first win here in New York City. With very limited time on the water for most of these teams, especially Japan and Australia. They've done not much practice race here in New York, that's for sure.
Big dark patch to their left, and here it is, hitting the top of the rig.
Bearing the boat away there just to get it up and go falling up. And that's where the flight controller has to catch the lift. As the boat increases, he's got to catch it with his...
coming up into the lull. Well controlled there.
Beautiful work there by Nathan. You hear Parko there saying, I love this job. They're still having fun, these boys. And there it is, Japan over for a win in race number 2 here in New York City. That, once again, Shirley.
Nice, Yuki.
No. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that was a very, very tricky little race once again, Shirley. Australia got to win, what, 50 metres of them at that bottom mark, and they've beaten it by ages. 22 seconds at this stage, Australia still aren't at the top. So they're just, the importance of trying to link these breezes, as you said before.
Link the puffs, but also, you know, first and second, they can really mold the boat well.
We're going to see China here. Watch this, is going to go through a jibe. They've got their flight control not quite right. Big nose dive in, lots of water into the boat. Oh my God, have a go at how much water's in that leeward hull. They've got fairing damage. Here we go, on board again. Comes through, Phil's trying to steer the boat out. Wings off. Oh, they're so close. And you see Phil, he's asking for the wing to come on. So he's trying to get the power out of the wing so it doesn't trip the boat over. But they've got some damage on the front of that fairing. That was very close to a capsize.
He did well to save that, Jody. But look at this, the battle for second place continues.
Australia are coming in and around that top mark. Phil Robertson and his boys, I can't get over how close they were to losing that boat. We don't want another capsize. We've already lost Great Britain today. We don't want to reduce this fleet anymore. We want to see race 3 as many as we can.
And then nice puff building in 3, 2, 1, big puff.
Kyle Langford just calling this, going to listen to the Australians all the way in here.
2, 1, pretty steady for the finish. Landing us out a little bit. And light patch. Turning up in 2, 1, turning up.
Right at the end, they just put the bow in just in case someone was pretty hot and they all wanted to get a drink, as we say. So Australia in for second spot, and the race is on for third. And at this stage, it looks like that it could be France coming in and attacking to the top mark. Billy Besson would love to get a third. He's got a finish, but remember in Australia, he forgot to finish. So he's got to make sure he goes through the finish line. Fairly fundamental. Here he goes. And I don't know French, but I think he said, we're third, boys and girls. Let's keep going. Let's get this thing through.
I'm not sure. I don't think he's counting it yet, Jody. But a good, the voice you're hearing now is Marie Rieu. She's the flight controller. She also sails with Billy in the Olympic class, the Nycra. They're an incredible double act.
Okay, boys, so that's the finish, boys. Easy wing here. Let's just keep it nice and slow. So, just got a bit more water to go. Oh, that was a bit lame.
Well, France crossing the line. Billy Besson and his team take third place in the second race here in New York City.
15 seconds, Australia trying to protect that bottom end. Phil Robertson in China are coming up and might give the Japanese a little bit of an issue here. Tommy Slingsby, the Australians holding everyone up. Phil Robinson's pulled the bow around first and got the start. Well done to China. Phil Robinson, after nearly putting that boat in the water, he's leading this race. It obviously never deterred him. He hasn't been too spooked about putting the bows in, that's for sure.
The Aussies were just slightly too early on their approach, and you know, in this kind of conditions, you cannot use the instrument. It's all seat of the pants.
So here they are, China. Can he hold on to this lead and take this thing into the first mark in first place for a big confidence boost for that team? It's China in first, Japan in second, Australia in third, France in fourth, and the local team in USA coming fifth, Shirley.
Great leg by the Chinese. They brought in a wing trimming coach, Paul Campbell-James, a British guy who was in the last America's Cup. And to me, you can see the difference. They look
He's done it again. He just launches. As he goes into that jibe, he just goes up and the bow just launches in. That is so close to putting that thing in the water.
Kiss of death. I was about to say they look a lot smoother.
The commentator's curse has struck again. It's opened the door for Japan. So we're going to get a replay here of what just happened with the team China. But look at that. It's a reverse of what happened on the last one. It went from starboard to port. This one's port to starboard. My God, they've certainly had some close calls, that Team China boat, that's for sure. Japan already at the bottom mark. It's such a short racetrack. They get down there very, very quick, that's for sure. So China, after losing their lead and nearly losing their boat, they go around in second spot. Australia are 2 holes in, drifting into the bottom. It's just all happening here, Shirley.
You got to just suck it up. You cannot get stressed by that. You got to play with what you've got, and that's easier said than done. And I'm sure Tommy Slingsby's trying to take a deep breath, trying to calm down, but yeah, he'll be frustrated.
That boat, that China boat, looks like it's on springs. It is bouncing around everywhere. They are just all over the place, and that's no reflection of the flight control. It's literally just the breeze hitting them, and they just can't react in time to bring the boat back down.
It's not such an experienced team as the Aussies and the Japanese, and you've got to get all the bits of the puzzle working together, and it could not be harder for that. In San Francisco, it was almost playbook kind of sailing, finessing, but here, it's all gut instinct and reaction.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to be James Wabowski, that's for sure, on Team China, because he's the man that has to stop that thing from tipping. He's got a lot on his plate. Nice little shot of him there, just launching up out of the tack, getting the boat up and foiling.
Jody, also James Wabowski, he was pulled out for San Francisco, so he's only got one event under his belt, so he's really had to learn fast. And they've invested a lot in the simulator in London just to give him a chance.
And Japan are well over to the right-hand side of the course, so they've set themselves up to come into the gate. China in second, Australia in third, France in fourth, and something's gone, well, I'm guessing America. All they want to do is just finish today. They just want to get the boat around, no dramas. They've got a new bloke on the wing. I think Rome would be happy just to put that boat to bed tonight without too many dramas, that's for sure.
No one's going to blame him for that. Japanese look quite light over on that right-hand side, but as the camera turns, we can see more pressure coming from New Jersey, and there they are, up in the foils.
Yeah, up and foil, and they'll be loving that little bit of a assist there from the wing guides to get them up into this top gate. And if they can stick on that breeze and have a look at that helicopter shot, the wind is absolutely everywhere. Nothing on that right-hand gate at all. You just see Japan starting to fall off the foils.
The good guys, they seem to be able to glide through the soft patches. They keep rolling in the pressure and keep the boat moving into the next one.
8 knots. Not long ago, they were coming in there at about 25, and now they're at 8. They're still leading, but have a look at the angle they're going to try and link up to the next bit of pressure. They're sailing away from where they should be going, just so they can get that wind first. This could open the door for China. Can China come in and around and pick up on this little bit of breeze? It looks like it might be coming from the left. Japan are now in it. Now it's China's turn to take some medicine. Australia coming in on starboard, but China gets into the zone. And they're in and around. Australia going to look like they're going to come to the left-hand gate. So split tacks between these guys. How will that unfold down the bottom? We will soon see.
Impressive sailing from the Chinese. They nearly capsized. Do you think you'd want to throttle back after that? But Phil Robertson, he's not that kind of player. He pushes and he pushes, and he's currently being rewarded.
Yeah, it's good to see him up at the shiny end of the fleet, that's for sure. He's a bit of a joker off the park, and you don't win world match racing titles for not being a good sailor. So he'd be loving this. Chase that Japanese team down and maybe get a win. We've seen Australia get one, we've seen Japanese get one. Can there be a third winner today? That would be pretty impressive, that's for sure.
Copy.
And they're in a great bit of pressure now, Japan.
Be a right turn. Good pressure for it. Be early tack to get back out over there, I think. Standing by to turn up. 2, 1, coming up slowly.
Nathan looks and sounds so locked into it, doesn't he? But we saw China, there was kind of a glimpse of China just accelerating behind them. This is not over, Jody.
It's awesome to listen to just the amount of communication these guys are definitely doing.
Yeah, great. High mode, go, pop to boat. Pop it again.
Nice, mate. That's good. Trip, come on, lads. Press hard.
Drop in here, go again. I think we've got to roll on this, eh? Belgium's at 250. Yeah, settle it down, keep it H1.
You hear him groaning, you hear him.
H1, Jody, that's one hull in the water, H1.
Yeah, you hear you know, they're grimacing themselves just because they just don't know what's about to unfold. So we got on board here with France. They're getting plenty of water, cleaning their eyes out, that's for sure. They're in fourth spot. So third spot, sorry, we'll run with third. Third spot for France. So Japan currently leading, China in second. Let's get stock. Japan leading, China in second, France in third, Australia going left-hand gate as we're looking at downhill into fourth, and America are still coming in fifth spot. So the two blokes or boats that weren't going too well in San Francisco.
Can the Australians come back into this? I mean, Tom Slingsby's not used to being in fourth spot. He's here to win.
Oh, they're all here to win. Don't worry about that. China's coming into some breeze. You just see the wings getting eased out rather quickly there as they start lifting that hull. They don't want that gust of breeze to come in and just smash on top of that wing and tip the boat over. Bow in there on Japan. They look a little bit loose coming into this tack. Just going around the top of America there, who looks like they might just low ride the whole race.
I mean, Jodie, you mentioned it before, there's so much comms. Everybody has to be on the same page.
You see there what you said about Tom Slingsby not liking being back down the pack. The data shows him currently in third spot. If he can get over that right-hand side and pick a nice bit of pressure here, he'll put the wind right up China coming into this top gate. Japan haven't made the top, so that tells you there's a massive big left-hand shift over here. You hear there Phil Robinson saying try and settle it. Good luck, Jimbo, to James Wabowski. Oh my God. Australia attacking now on the imaginary lane line while Japan is coming around the top mark. Cross here between Australia and China. Remember,
massive gain by the Aussies, huge amount of pressure. Now they're lifted as well, you know, look at their angle.
Yeah, China had a pretty slow tack, so the Australians look like they've got a nice bit of pressure over their right-hand side, so they should be able to roll over the top of China here and come into the second. Have a look at the leeway. You see the boat sliding sideways there. That's a great shot there.
You could also see the current as well. The current is coming down the Hudson. You can see that on the marks, 2 or 3 knots of current.
And Australia look like they're going to tack over and go back in towards the New York side. They don't like what they see on the left. And what will China do? China's going to attack as well, so they're going to go and chase the Australians. So everyone wants to get back down into that New York side of the course. And that's where the Japanese, who are currently leading this race, that's where they went. And I'm guessing that they're not going to be too far from that bottom mark.
So much manoeuvring, Jodie, and you've got to nail those manoeuvres. And in the other events, we just haven't seen the quantity.
There we have it, Japan around the bottom mark for the last time. Today, they've got to get back up to the top, then into the finish for possibly their second win of the day. Australia in second spot. They're chasing. This is still not over. We've said it before, we're going to say it again. Anything can happen here today in New York.
Chinese have got great pace. I mean, they're really chasing the series leader, Team Australia, now. And they got good form.
Have a go at the boat speed of them, just smoking down along that shore. Anybody lucky enough to be in New York watching this live will just have an awesome view of these boats just going so fast along that foreshore and heading into that bottom mark. Australia into second, coming into that bottom gate. We're sitting here now with Billy Besson and his crew for Team France, who are currently in fourth, just getting up to the top part of the mark. And we're back now with Australia, who have gone down around the bottom mark for the final time in the second. Meanwhile, Japan are halfway up the work for the last time. China coming into the bottom mark for third. I'm just going to listen to Japan here for a little bit and see what their thoughts are.
Take off here if we can, partner, and then we'll tack. Okay, setting up. My wing.
They just seem a little bit calmer there, Shirley. Maybe they've just got used to the conditions a little bit more. It didn't seem to be as erratic, the chat. That was a beautiful tack. Nice tack in these conditions.
Okay, right turn to the finish from here.
Nathan Outridge and Ian Jensen, his wing trimmer, have sailed together since they were children, since they were almost babies. You know, it's intuitive. They understand each other. They know how to communicate, and I think, you know, we're hearing that.
I'm pretty sure they sailed a boat to kindergarten together. They didn't have cars back there in Wanji where we live, so those boys have been together forever, that's for sure. Here goes the tack for the final time. Japan coming in to the top marks. And you hear there Ian Jensen say, my wheel, so that lets Nathan know it's time for him to cross the boat.
Got it.
So you can hear there the transfer of controls from each sailor to the other. They just got to make sure that each other person on the boat knows whose actually job it is to control these things.
All right, you call it from here, Goose.
And Australia coming in about 150 metres in towards the finish. They're pretty happy. They're going to set up for their second win of the day. And listen to the elation on board there, Shirley.
Setting up.
Yeah.
Going forward.
Right, yep.
Turning.
Oh, that's high. Sick.
What a win, what a schooling for the other boats. What a performance from the Japanese and from their skipper, Nathan Outridge. Very impressive.
And there was a lot of emotion as they went over that line. They think that they were a bit dudded over in San Francisco, so they've got a little bit of redemption to this boat here, the Australian boat. So they'd be happy to take 2 wins out of today and to come through relatively unscathed with no breakages and the mast or the wing still in the sky, Shirley.
2 losses for this man though, Tom Slingsby. He's not used to that. Series winner, won the last 2 events. Hoping very much to win here in New York.
A 1-2-2 there for the Aussies. They'll be sort of happy with that, I guess. That 1-1-2 to Japanese, they would be happy with that.
Great comeback though, great boat speed and you know, real class act.
Absolutely, they were 4th and looking ugly there at one stage, so never discard the red-haired Tom Slingsby, that's for sure. He's a lot of fight in that dog, that is no doubt about that.
Well done.
Yeah, they're happy with that.
2, 1, on the rock.
And China, who certainly battling it out, he hasn't been disgraced. They're in no wind at all now. It's just from one extreme to the other. This is up now on foiling. Well,
Phil Robertson and the Chinese team, there were some moments of brilliance, but just can't seem to get the transitions, can't hang it all together.
We'll round up and go through it. Okay, bows coming up now. It's a reach angle. Holding angle here.
Almost a running commentary, Jodie, just keeping everyone in the loop.
Holding angle. Yeah.
It is amazing how that Phil Robertson's literally almost coaching his team what he's got to do, so everybody is 100% certain what's happening. The level of intensity on the boat is massive. Look at that, they're stoked, they're happy. Good work for them. Team China, great effort. The box is very, very tight. We've got New York City just off to their right-hand side, so they haven't got much room to get into the start.
With these difficult conditions, really hard to rely on the electronics. It's real seat of the pants sailing.
And here we go for the start. So it's China. Phil Robertson is getting down to the leeward side. Japan are in the middle, and we are away for race number 4. And it's a nice start there by China. Japan already doing 39 knots, heading over to this first mark.
Impressive start by the Japanese. You know, the top speed there. We heard them in the pre-start talking about pulling the trigger, about crossing that line as fast as they can, and they have nailed that.
They have indeed. France didn't have a very good start at all, but China and Japan are off over here, and it looks like Japan, the guy who won a couple of races yesterday, Nathan Outridge and co, are going to be first in to this first mark, and then heading on down to a very, very tight bottom market. not much room between that first jibe mark and where we're going to be seeing them going into the gate. So it's Japan, then China. China's going early, so that's quite interesting. Japan is going with them, and you just see them not being able to go through that flying pack. So it's very, very light, very, very patchy as it was yesterday.
You can see that light patch Japan is in. The water is glassy. Where we see the puffs, the shadow, that's where the maximum pressure is. China have stormed ahead.
They have indeed. That little early jibe for China certainly paid off. Phil Robertson obviously seen a nice gust and decided to go in and has paid big dividends because it's China into the bottom mark for the first time. And away they go. They've got a handy lead for first lap, that's for sure.
Pick that right-hand mark on the gate. You can see that massive amount of dark pressure there on the right-hand side, hoping to pick that up.
And you can pick it out on the shot there. We've also got a continuing obstruction where there's a VIP boat in the course, so just something else for the boats to have to worry about. They can't go near it within 3 boat lengths, so the people on that boat will get an awesome view of these guys because they're coming in towards them as we speak. Japan very, very close there to the boundary, and they got a penalty, so they're going to cop. They're going to have to lose 1 boat length there. They'll be able to, should be able to wash that fairly quick, and it's been washed off already, so not too much of a penalty there that they had to cop for getting into that boundary.
Huge changes of pressure, and we hear them talking about it on board. We've had like down to 4 knots, to 25 knots, so imagine trying to deal with that on the boat. The coordination, the trim, keeping the thing on the wheels, keeping it trucking is not easy.
And they're already next to the top marks. So China still doing a great job. He led to the bottom. Phil Robertson and his crew have come out today pretty fired up, obviously. Japan have got a nice little bit of pressure over the right-hand side, so it's all about who can stay up on the foils and get to this top mark first. Have a go at Australia in the background there in a nice gust there. Just going to follow into Japan here, the bow shot there. You can see China very, very low. But like you said, they've just got to be patient. They've got to be patient.
The game is to link the puffs. Glide through those light patches, but keep your pace through the lulls. And Australians look right back in it.
That
Done a
commentary
great
curse
job.
for China. They were leading and they've just fallen into one of those lulls that you was talking about. Japan are doing the same. Australia, who were fair way back in third, not that long ago, coming around the top mark in first place. Mr. Tom Slingsby and his crew are fired up for today.
How excruciating is it to be sitting there, the Japanese and the Chinese boat hardly moving, watching the Australians just sail away. Stay patient, boys, stay patient. See what the next gust, see where it's coming from.
I just don't think we were going to be able to attack.
It was interesting that Japan were looking at going at that right-hand gate, and they've bailed out of that and come to this left-hand one. Is that a little bit of Nathan and crew not wanting the Aussies to get away from him, or just trying to link these breezes up? Look at how compressed everything is all of a sudden. The breeze has just dropped off at the worst possible time.
Okay, should get flow here in a minute.
Japan might go straight up the back of Great Britain, who are parked at the top mark.
When it hits, it'll hit hard.
You know, when there's breeze, these boats fly on those massive foils, but when there's no breeze, that's a whole heap of drag under the boat. So hard to get it going.
And it won't be long here until this breeze will come in, because it looks like that left-hand side of the course is building up for a little bit of pressure, and Australia are just picking it up now, and you look by their boat speed already at 20, China 25 knots, so the breeze definitely went right. It'd be interesting if Japan would have stayed on that right-hand top mark, they would have picked that up first, so they'd be probably ruined that decision to bail out of that.
All the pre-start chat was about the left-hand side, Jody, but here, you know, you can't rely on history. You've got to sail in what you've got.
And these 3 boats have certainly got a bit of pressure. They're all heading downhill at 30-odd knots with that spectator boat in the background. Australia just going over the top of Japan there as we speak. It won't take long. They're 200 metres away from this bottom mark. They're setting up now for Australia for a jibe, by the looks of it, to get into the gate. So it looks like they're going to go over to the right-hand gate as we look at it downhill. And they want to get back over to that Jersey side. He looked like he'd done it. He's a little bit low into that ley line there, so that cost him a little bit there, Tommy, and the Australian boat.
Okay, here we go.
We can't see it in the shot, but he is obviously seeing something he likes on that left-hand side.
Well, let's just listen on board and see what they're saying here for a little while.
Great. Trying to flatten. We've got diff.
Yep, got this.
So what they're saying there with diff, that's the differential between the two rudders. So that both rudders are on different angles to create. One creates lift, one creates downforce.
One, lock.
Turning.
And my wheel.
Big lift.
They're talking about the lift there, the angle that they are heading. A lift means that it takes you closer to the wind.
And Japan have done quite nice out of that. They're coming back over to the Jersey side. Australia in nice pressure as well. So that race between Australia and Japan just continues. Every race, these pairs seem to be up the top. And there's no doubt why, because we've got some of the best sailors on both of these boats. China are still in this race. It's good to see they haven't dropped off. They're punching it in for a podium at this stage. Great Britain, a big loser out of that little white patch at the top. They are well behind at this stage.
Okay, setting up here,
tactically for a sailor, this is so hard. You can't control the fleet. You can't sail the other boat. You just gotta look for the opportunities and take them, and just take your gut instinct.
It looks like Japan are setting up. They've just gone through, their last tack. That'll take them up to the gate for the second time. Another lap to go yet, so.
I think we're clear on Australia. All right. I'm happy to go right, Mark. Early job.
You just heard there Nathan Outridge saying he thinks he's clear on Australia. He's going to go around the right mark, which he probably should have done in that first time, and just head on back in towards New York, because he feels the pressure is better out in that left-hand side of the course. He's actually extended his lead there, Shirley.
Here we go.
We've seen the Japanese team
job.
lead day one on both events so far, and obviously won yesterday. Can they hold on today?
It's interesting, they went right-hand gate, but they've gone an early jibe, so they must have just spotted a late gust coming off the Jersey side.
Okay,
they want to try and stay in and head back down to that bottom mark. Australia are really struggling to get up this top mark. It's a little bit confusing there on that shot, but Japan are still heading downhill. They've gone around through the top mark. Australia are just in line for the right-hand gate as they're looking at it. Left-hand gate from the bottom.
Okay, working it down.
China, will they sneak in here a second? They made the zone first, so they've got all the rights.
Going forward.
Are they going to go across to that other gate? And yes, they are. They're going across to the right-hand side, so we're going to have a little bit of a split here between these two boats.
No rush.
But it's very soft up in this top mark. A lot of spectators on the water as well, so that won't be helping with the breeze, that's for sure.
Nice. And dragging it on.
Looks pretty fast to me, Jody. They are romping along. And you know, when you're doing that kind of speed, the Hudson River is gets small pretty quickly.
Well, 10 knots to 35 in a blink of an eye. That's pretty amazing how quick these things can just get up and boogie, that's for sure.
Stand by, boys.
And here they're going to stand by for a jibe, so you see them running across.
One. Still on that.
Oh, they're not happy. They've come into the jibe, not quite set up. So you hear Tommy groaning there with a little bit of disappointment. He wanted to try and nail his foiling jibe and chase his rival on the water, Nathan Outridge, who is down to the bottom gate for the final time in this race. So one more upwind to go, and then the big screaming reach in towards the finish line.
Get the speed up, and then we'll tack fairly soon. Standing by. My wing.
Luke Parkinson there donning the blue zig for today. Very nice look there by Luke.
Just looking at Luke's gaze, he is locked on to the lured bow, just using that to help him judge balancing the platform, keeping the right height absolutely static.
And Australia are in and around the bottom and foiling quite nicely, so they've got good speed, 26, 27 knots. So they're holding on to that speed, which is very, very critical. As long as they can keep foiling, they can chase Japan. If they drop off the foils, Japan will just gap them off. We've got Rome, Kirby, and the USA boat into third spot. Rome's got a new wing controller for today after his original wing controller hurt himself, hurt his back while they were getting off the mooring yesterday. So Tommy Johnson's on board there doing the wing control. put them into third. So Rome would be happy with that after yesterday.
It seems so calm on the Japanese boat today. They really sort of found their groove. A lot less chat. They know what to do.
Don't think today is as nuclear as what yesterday was. The breeze doesn't seem to be coming over through them buildings and just exploding on the water. So it's making it a little bit easier for these guys to sail. But as you see from that shot, there's still fairly good gusts coming at them. And then light patches around. They're coming into a nice bit of breeze here. If you can see on that water, the dark patches on there. They're going to come into a nice bit of pressure just as they get around its final mark and then head in towards the big crowds that are on the shore here in New York for a win for race number 4, if nothing goes wrong.
If you've been following the series, you'd be used to these boats flying a lot higher. But here, they're sailing very differently. Lower to the water. You want as much rudder as you can. You're not bow down either. You need rudder because you've got to steer around all the changes in wind angle and in wind velocity. So that's why you're seeing the difference.
That's a great shot of the boat, right up underneath the boat there as it was foiling off towards New York and towards a win for race number 4. They've just got a little bit of issue there. They dropped the windward hull in a little bit, but they've got enough lead. They've got a couple of 100-metre lead on Australia at this stage. Australia are low down in the boat speed, 15 knots going upwind. Japan are doing 25 knots coming into the finish for race number 4. Very, very close for another win. This will be the 3rd win for this series for Japan. They said they got a bit of redemption to get back from San Francisco. And they are happy on board. Listen to them. They're very happy.
Turbulent. Up the wall, then we'll tack it.
And there it is. Japan take race number 4 here in New York. Well done.
Man, yep. Hit me.
That was a great shot of that tack. How cool are these boats? I don't think I've seen anything cooler on the water, that's for sure. And Australia now just coming over, 25 seconds behind Japan. So they've done quite well. Japan, they've come out here short race, Shirley. They've got a bit of a lead.
I think Tom Slingsby and his team will be happy with that. He said to me this morning he just wants to lock in his place in the final today. So they're not necessarily pushing it, they just need nice, steady results. It's all about that final race later in the afternoon.
Oh, and just giving the boys a bit of a hose down there, right through the finish line. Well done, Australia. And here's the battle for the minors, 3rd, 4th and 5th. The podium for this race has not been decided yet. USA could sneak in. If they can get a nice little tack out of this low boat foiling, or low boat, both hulls in the water sort of action, who can tack best and get across to the finish. It's all about this tack, and it's all about who can get this breeze first. This is going to be a nice little finish here, Shirley.
The Brits have a little bit more pace. They're just coming down, protecting their air and protecting their position with the American boat.
And they'll be copping a little bit of wing wash. I mean, it's very light, so they're not going to cop too much. The Britons are off. Great British team off and running. Rome would be a little bit disappointed in that. We would have loved to have been getting up and falling and making this a nice little fight into the finish for 3rd place. But it looks like the Great British team are going to have 3rd in the bag. And after putting that thing in the water yesterday, Dylan and co will be pretty happy with that, there's no doubt.
Coming down before that mark.
The whole team up nearly all night, Jodie, putting it all back together. And remember, points, every race counts. So points are really, really important. We talk a lot about the final 2. But all the points will be added together when we get to Marseille for that big finale.
So it's obviously hasn't hurt of it mentally. You know, they've come out and they've got a 3rd spot, which is great to see. They've washed it off. They had their big spill. They've got that in the bag now. They're back out here racing. Nice bit of pressure. 34 knots heading in towards the finish line for a 3rd place for the Great British team. Well done, boys. Nice job. Rome Kirby there with his new wing trimmer, Tommy Johnson, coming in for fourth. They've done quite well.
2, 1.
Well, there's nothing green about Tom Johnson. He was the reserve wing guy at Oracle. Kyle Langford's backup. He knows these boats inside out, and he'd been training them all the way through.
That one go.
There's not enough room behind the start line, so they've all come in from the race course side, and it looks like Great Britain are trying to get into the bottom end of the line. Australia attacking. Maybe they'll try and hold up Japan here. Japan are sort of sliding down. Great Britain have parked in, which is going to stop Japan being able to pull their bows away. Rome Kirby's already loaded up here, Shirley.
It's not about positioning, it's about pace. Keep an eye on those boat speeds.
Big trim, boys.
They've done all right there to get over the bow of Great Britain there in Japan, and we are off for the final race. 3 boats have parked it, 3 boats are on their way, and it is USA leading by Japan, and France are also in the mix this time. Great Britain off the line pretty much last with China, and Australia, are they just conserving energy? Do they know that they're already into the final? Of course they do.
I think, Jody, they just got all mixed up with other boats. Big mistake.
Probably header pop, okay?
And it's a nice race here into the first mark, with Japan just getting inside of Rome Kirby in the USA. So Japan around first, Rome Kirby into second. France, great job by France to be up there in third. And Australia are chasing hot in fourth.
And driving.
Have a go at how quick they're going to get once again down to that bottom mark. Both boats doing a nice job there. Australia probably need to get a good job. Looks like they're in a great puff. They might be able to get on the inside of France, who looks like they've got a little bit of a problem trying to manoeuvre through that jibe. So I'd say they've lost their third spot there, France. But it's Japan into the bottom mark first. USA in second, and the Aussies are chasing, because Tommy Slingsby knows that it's all still. You still need to gain points. Every point matters.
Heads up, heads up.
I think they saw, you can see that puff of wind coming down. I think that's why they've all gone round that left-hand side, using the puffs to get up to the top mark.
And that's a great illustration there. Keeping your boat speed in, Australia just went straight in underneath this USA boat, which are on board now.
What's going on? I don't know. Setting up, trimming up, trimming up. Yours, trimming up. Go hard, go hard.
It's interesting. They're just saying they might have some sort of an issue. They can't quite identify what. Rome's just tacking off. France need to be careful here. They need attack as well. Here we go, port and starboard. Very, very close here between USA and France. France, there's a late, very, very late tack on France. Gonna have to get a penalty there, surely. Rome and the USA team was still inside that boundary, or that protected boundary. You can hear Billy Besson there, very, very animated there, Shirley. That was very close indeed.
I mean, the American boat didn't give him a massive amount of opportunity to take, you know, to avoid him, and he's not happy. We're just waiting to hear from the umpires.
Yeah, it looks like at this stage that we haven't seen a penalty, so they must be thinking it's all clear. So he's done a great job there, Billy Besson and the team from France, to throw that thing on the inside of the USA boat. So they're now racing in for second spot. Looks like they've got a nice little pressure off that right New York side of the course. And just as we say that, off the foils they come. So we're even getting confused with what's going on out here in this course. So it's about who can get up to this mark in a low boat mode. But the team that's still leading is the Japanese, and they'll go across to that right-hand gate.
You can see the yellow circles on the water. Whoever hits that yellow circle, the zone first, has all the rights to make the turn.
Have a go at Australia. They just took both those boat sterns because they were on port. Tommy threw it up into the wind, in and around, and chasing Japan for second. So he's come from fourth to second in a heartbeat. Look at this race. This is the race for third.
Oh,
USA
the Americans
versus
just squeezed round.
France are going over to the right-hand side where Australia have parked. There's no breeze there at this stage. USA, will this be the big move? Can they come across this right-hand side? Local boys, surely they know what's going on, Eddie Shirley.
They are flying. Jody, imagine you're American and you're sailing here, right in front of Manhattan, potentially about to win a medal.
They've got a Lady Liberty on their wing. They are sailing for that home team, and here they go into the jibe. Japan look nice out in that middle part of the course, but they have done well. They've got themselves into second by just going to that left-hand gate at the top.
But Jody, look at the French. Look at the top of your screen, ladies and gentlemen. The French are coming back in that massive puff of wind, the big shadow that we see.
Billy Basson is fired up. He threw it underneath Rome there in the USA boat on that little port starboard incident, and he is coming downhill at a great rate.
Yep, keep it on the breeze. It's going to be headed.
They want to get this, they want third. There's no doubt about that. They want it hard.
Oh, but Jody, he's running out of pressure. You can see the speed dropping.
Okay.
He's got to do a really late jibe here. He's going to go past the actual, what we call the ley line, and it's going to be another boat-on-boat here incident between, I can't believe it, USA and France. They are just chasing each other everywhere they go. USA are going uphill. France have gone completely past the marks.
I'm not sure what happened on that French boat. They needed to jibe, and they didn't. They must have had a problem on board.
Or either that, or it just comes up to them so quick, that bottom mark, because this course is so short. So a little tiny little lapse in concentration, and you fly past the mark. Look who's last or second last in this race. The Aussies. They were second around the top mark and parked it.
The star of the show here is the American boat. Currently in first, right off Manhattan. It's a good moment.
He did say that he was pretty fired up to go out there and show them that he means business today after losing his wing trimmer yesterday, and the whole program got thrown up in the air. Rome Kirby is definitely delivering here as we speak on the Hudson River.
It means a lot to finish third. You know, the Australian team and the Japanese, very experienced sailing these boats. The other teams are playing catch up, and boy, they are catching up quickly.
They certainly are. But we've still got another upwind and half an upwind and another leg to go. So as we've seen, there's been about 6 million different lead changes already. I'm guessing there's going to be some more.
I got the bear weight, my rig. Your rudders. Yeah.
But USA have got a great lead there, Shirley.
The stand-in wing trimmer here arrived at Newark Airport at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Changing his wetsuit on the plane.
Long way. Getting close here, probably.
We'll just listen to what they're saying here with his jibe. This will be nice comms.
Gotta go, Romy. Yep.
And they've let us down. There's nothing for them to say. They're just gone. Thank you very much, Rome, for that. That's awesome.
Yep. Okay, go board. Teach. Yours.
Stand by popping too.
Yep.
Popping now.
Nice. My rig.
Yeah,
Good job there. They just touched down in that jibe, so there's just enough breeze for them to go not quite a full foil, but they're still back up and falling, which is, just as I say that, we've dropped off, so big light patch in the middle.
Dude, it's so hard. The coordination between the flight controller, the wing trimmer, and the helmsman. It's like driving a car and looking at the sat-nav, and someone else doing the gears and the accelerator and the brake. It is so difficult to coordinate.
I got it.
Got nice pressure there. You can see them bow down in towards that bottom mark, so they're still leading.
There's good pressure over left shoulder, so
This is last bottom mark, as you just heard there from USA.
And good pressure over their shoulder. They're happy where they are.
New territory for Rome Kirby and the team from USA. Nathan Outridge in Japan are not going to let him have it all his own way, because they are coming down here in an absolute beauty of a gust, and they've gone from a long way behind to 1.5 to 2 boat lengths to right behind him, straight over the top of Japan, USA. That is very close once again. Oh my God.
The Japanese have to keep clear. They're coming in from behind, no rights. They had to keep clear.
They were so close. The whole hole was right over the top of USA. And look who's back in the mix. USA, Australia, Japan. This race is not over, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on, do not go anywhere. This could be anything.
Yours?
Popping 2, 1, popping out.
Yep, mine.
Yours.
Still done a nice job tacking. Done a nice job tacking off that shore. Here's the replay. You see Japan coming right from behind him. Heaps and heaps of speed.
Trim it up.
Get a lot of height out of that thing. Drops down in the water, straight up underneath the rudders again of the USA. Very similar to what happened in San Francisco with the Aussie side.
My rig.
Yours.
That was pretty insane.
It's got no wind compared to them.
Tommy's complaining about no wind. USA in plenty of wind. 35 knots as opposed to 25 knots at boat speed of Japan. So here's the race. It looks like it's going to be between USA and Japan.
The boat.
Line.
Power me up.
Fully powered up, bro.
Yep.
Good lead the jib. Nice. Good pressure at the mark. We got a good. Oh no.
We're good. We're good.
We're hearing the comms between the wing trimmer and the helmsman. Really calm on board. Nice job.
So they have to nail this tack. They've done a really good job separating there with Japan. It was all about a race. Now, USA have to do a good tack and hopefully get breeze.
Forward up.
Can Australia get breeze from down below? They're up and got one hull out of the water, just dropped it back down as we spoke. They're going to come in towards China here, so they're almost an obstruction in the middle of the course. Japan have to go around China. Australia have to go around China. In the meantime, USA are around the top mark and heading in towards the finish for what will be a historic first win for Team USA on their home waters, Shirley.
Your rig, team.
My rig.
It's not over yet, Jody, but they will get the biggest cheer in Manhattan when they cross that line. What a weekend they've had. You know, they lost their vital crew member yesterday, and today to pull this win out the bag would be quite something. To take third here in New York City, that's a day for memories.
There will not be a prouder American than Rome Kirby if he can pull this off. He will be loving it. He's looking back. He's very, very nervous. He's like a young boy at his first dance. He doesn't know what to do. He just wants that boat up and foiling and heading in towards the finish here to New York, and that's exactly what's going on. He's just getting it up now.
Yeah.
Got it. I
Your
got it.
boat.
Hold back.
And you can hear them. They just want to get it up and get it going. Japan have done a nice job by separating.
Big trim, boys. Big one. Pressing here.
Finish it strong, boys.
Finish it strong. You hear it there from Tommy Johnson. A lot of pressure on the flight controller. Don't get it wrong now. We've got 100 metres to go, and USA are about to get their first win. Ladies and gentlemen, get up and clap, because there it is.
First race win. There we go. In the bag. Nice job, boys.
He heard you, Jody. That is a big moment for this young man and his
Nice job,
team.
guys. Way
Good
to tough
job.
it out. Wasn't ideal.
Well done to them.
Nice job, guys.
Awesome work, boys. Nice one.
Coming in to second spot is Japan, but they've sealed the deal for the final. They know that they're in that final match race with that nemesis once again, Tommy Slingsby in Australia. 3 events, 3 of the similar match race components. Who's going to take this one, Shirley?
That's a tough one. You know, Tommy Slingsby goes into a different mode. He sees the red mist. He's a great combat kind of sailor, and I think they'll be rebooting in between these races and come out firing.
And here's a nice story with Great Britain coming over the finish line for 4th
Rounding up off the mark.
after a disaster yesterday.
Kissing it down
That's a
now.
nice little finish for them, the team from Great Britain. Well done.
Stand by.
Little bit of a stare off there between the two skippers. Australia have to get in around that marker.
Yep, working it down.
They want to get in behind Japan. There's 34 seconds to go, so they're not going to break the start, that's for sure, because they're a long way from this start line. They're just trying to be the most lured boat.
Oh, I think the Australians were trying to be too clever, trying to get that hook, trying to get behind and got really slow.
15, 14, 13.
Japan just trying to hold up. Now Australia's put his bow down. Can he get underneath him and get the hook? And I think he's done it, Australia. I think he's got the hook. Japan had to get out of the road. They've said flag. Will they get a penalty on him here? Be very, very interesting. Clear start, clear start. Penalty to Australia, so Australia have to get in behind Japan. Surely, straight off the cuff, we have a drama.
Oh, well, we'll hear from the umpires, but he came in really aggressively, and it looked like the Japanese team tried all they could to keep clear.
So now he has to slow up, so Nathan Outridge and co can just go flat out towards that mark. Will they try and play a little bit of fox here and push him down into the box? He's just going hell for leather.
He can go again when the Japanese are one boat length ahead, and we see him already beginning to accelerate.
And the penalty is off, so we are back to live racing. No penalties for either boat now. Japan leading coming into the first mark. And away they go. So off they go. Very, very short racetrack, remember. Setting up for a dive now is Japan, and Australia chasing 33 knots in very, very light pressure. No pressure at all. Port starboard here. Australia's going to go a protest. Will they get it off?
Behind his transom.
Umpire.
They've put a protest in. You can hear that on the comms. Both boats in no pressure, but surely.
This race is not going to be over until they cross that line. Never give up. There's always a path to get you back into this.
And we still haven't seen what the outcome of that protest is. So maybe it's all clear. We'll soon wait. This is the start. You see Australia coming up underneath the Japanese boat. Obviously never give them enough room to get in around. They might have even touched.
It's easy to hook. It's easy to hook in these boats because as you turn up, you go faster. In traditional monohulls, you'll go slower, but you'll go faster.
And they did. There's definitely a touch there. You watch Australia come up underneath. Japan had to throw it around. But look at this. We're back to live racing, and Australia have got in front of Japan to have a nice, healthy lead. So they got into that breeze first. Now Australia are in control. How quickly, like you said, things can change.
He sets up.
Nathan Outridge is the wind whisperer, though. If there's a puff of wind, they are going to find it. This race will carry on.
Japan tacking first, Australia following suit. Normally you just got to be between your competitor and the next mark, but it ain't that easy on this course.
This is not formulaic match racing. Tom Slingsby, he is a master at it, a real kind of street fighter. He loves it. He said to me this morning, if he has to capsize in this race, he will. He's going to push it all the time.
He's going to capsize before he gets over the finish line, because that'll hand it to Nathan Outridge and the Japanese team. And it is still both boats coming over towards the left-hand side of the course, away from the New York side. Japan just got a big knock, so can they tack and get a little bit of pressure off the Jersey side? Australia in the same, similar sort of pressure there by the looks of it. Flying pretty high there, Australia.
Stand by.
Pressure on out of this, boys.
Yeah.
All down. Build, Tommy, build. 2, 1, lock.
Turning.
Mine. Big puff here.
Yep.
I mean, that was a good spot, Jody. They're sailing higher, they're taking more risk. Really punchy sailing from both the boats.
So by the looks of that, Australia have done a nice job to keep in front of Japan, but they have stopped in the water. Can Japan get something from the left-hand side? Looks like they might be just starting to try and fly a bit of a hull. They're chewing the gap between Australia and Japan. 2-1, 3-1 difference in speed here.
Japanese doing 13 knots, Australian doing 9. As you say, the gap is closing. We don't normally see this mode, this one hull in the water mode, but here it's been crucial, this upwind sailing mode.
Both boats look very similar now in boat speeds. That little bit of an advantage that Japan got. They closed the gauge. They made a race back over to Australia. Attacking, they want to get back over the Jersey side.
Oh, slow, painful tack.
After what we've seen yesterday, we've seen this nuclear breeze just coming in. The breeze has died off just to make this even more of a suspensive race.
Better back the other way, but
Japan have to tack too, so you would think both boats are going to go around this left-hand gate. You wouldn't think Japan would want to do too many more
Little
manoeuvres.
hook up here.
he's in a crucial running.
That's the way.
Let's just try it here. Let's try to pop. Copy.
Just trying to pop. They're trying to downwind. There's only two modes. It's two hulls in or both hulls up. And you know, when they say pop, they're trying to pop the
Little
hulls
hook up here.
up. But it requires a big change in course.
Yeah, I've got to turn.
You see him there setting up for a jibe. So he's thinking that he can get around and hopefully get a little bit of pressure out of the middle. Japan have followed suit, so they've obviously seen the same breeze. Who will get the breeze first, Shirley? Up and falling, and you're almost going to be guaranteed. Well, nothing's guaranteed in this race, but I'd rather be falling than both holes in, that's for sure. Have a go how painful this
Talk to them
is.
about flow.
5 knots. Just waiting. Look to the left-hand side. Japan, bit of pressure coming into him.
The darker water to the left-hand side of the screen coming down. Japan are going to get that first, Jody.
Here we go. Pressing on this. Yep.
Upping. Don't come down too early.
There's still more ahead of us.
So you're right there, Shirley. Japan have got it. Up and foiling at Japan, so lead change, ladies and gentlemen.
Minimise dip,
Japan now in front. Australia will be hating life right now. He needs to get that pressure and get them bows away and start chasing Japan, who are heading downhill at 36 knots. Australia now in the pressure. Can both boats stay in this pressure all the way to the bottom? Who would know?
Yeah, let's go dip in now. Dip coming. Slowly.
This is only the second lap. They've still got another lap to do up.
Coming down to the gate, though, they have to defend this position. Get to that yellow circle first. You've got all the rights.
So there they are, into that yellow circle, as you said. Japan around first. Australia around second. Looks like Japan are going to go over towards the New York side of the course. There's a little bit of pressure coming in around the bottom of that spectator boat that's in the middle of the course. Remember, these guys can't go near it. It's a 3-boat length zone obstruction. It's a moving obstruction, so to speak, in the middle of the course. Australia tacked off early. Japan look like they're in nice pressure. Can they do a foiling tack here?
Crazy puffs here. You know, sailors who are watching, normally you can see the wind, but these puffs that are arriving, they're dropping down from above. There's no substance to them. Really difficult.
He's lined up so well with the pressure. He's going to make a huge game.
You just heard off the boat there, Tommy Slingsby saying Japan are going to make nice gains. That would not be impressing Tommy at all.
Little puff here, I'm going to press through it.
The Japan are going to
I'm
get
not
into
going to worry
this
about the
breeze.
marks because he's definitely not late.
You hear that?
If we can get it,
Japanese
great. If we
boat
can't,
gaining
looks like there's
all
good
the time
pressure
here.
on the course boundary at the moment. Going into much lighter stuff here, Parko.
We've been late on the board drop every left turn.
They're dropping now, the Japanese, Jody.
He's going to go right.
Dropping down. The speed is coming down. 12 knots for Japan. 26 for Australia.
And they have stopped, as you said there, Shirley. They've absolutely stopped. Australia need to nail this tack. Get some pressure from the left-hand side, from the Jersey side, and come in at a great rate of nice to close this gauge up and to bring this race back into a close one, which is what we all want to see here in the final of New York. That is for sure.
Going forward.
They look all right there, Shirley.
I can
they
see
get
the
up and
pressure.
pop?
They're calling it.
Here he goes, bow down a little bit to get that thing up and foiling. And they're going to be foiling, and Japan in front have parked it up on the tack. 6 knots now. Can they get in and around?
Right turn. Could be early job though, okay?
Nathan's pretty happy that he's going to get up and go to the right-hand side. But as you heard off the comms, maybe an early jibe to try and stay in that puff that he's just got now, Shirley.
Keep it calm. Link the puffs together.
All that will be running through his head now is revenge, revenge, revenge from San Francisco. He said in all the comms he didn't think he that Australia beat him, he said, we actually, we lost it because of gear failure. Is this the race where they're going to come back and finally take a win away from Australia in a final match race? We've got 2 more legs to go, Shirley. Japan heading downhill for the final time. Can they stay in the lead?
Okay, all the way to boundary. There's not a
Is it
whole lot
too
on the
early to
inside, so
call
we're
it?
going to go as far as
300 metre lead, Shirley. Are you brave enough to call it?
Okay, it's saying lay line now,
300
so
metres
standing by.
and growing.
Going forward.
It's going to be tough to come back for Tommy Slingsby.
If they can stay in this pressure, which they're just about to go through the jibe now, and get into the bottom mark, they've gone from very, very tightish race to absolutely extending
Crossing the gate,
300, 400, 500 metres.
Yeah, happy to cross the gate.
Jody, the Japanese are flying to this bottom gate for the last time, over 30 knots.
Okay, you clear to go now?
Yours. We're almost on the upward angle here, Goops.
Yep.
And you hear Nathan saying we're almost on the
Pretty
upwards.
soft too, Parker.
So that might tell you there's a little bit of pressure from that right-hand
All
side.
the
It looks
way, I
like a
think.
puff, or a bit of wind, sorry, on the right-hand side of that committee boat where they're heading. So
We're
if they
just
can
giving
stay
the
in
boundary.
that,
It's calling
the
20
Australians
seconds.
would not be liking the fact that they are extending
Nice grinding there,
towards
boys.
that top mark.
Okay. Standing by, my
Every
wing.
single metre. Australia are just hoping that they can get something from that left. Here they go as Japan tacking now. And have a look at the left-hand side of the VIP boat. Another big puff coming down the course.
Top the wing, yep,
So
nice.
it's all shaping
about to
up
come
here
back
for
in, Goops.
Japan, Shirley.
You know, if you're in the Japanese boat, just avoid those big lulls. That's Tommy Slingsby's only hope.
Yours. Little lifting pressure coming, I think.
He looks confident. He looks confident, but it's pretty hard to be confident on
Support
this
up all the
course. There we are, look at that to his right-hand side. Big puff of breeze. Will they get through it, or will that pick them up?
Pressure seems okay if we just keep going at the moment.
He's happy to keep going.
Oh, Jody, I called
He's
him the
gonna
wind
get us to
whisperer.
The wind
But I think we
whisperer.
just got to
And he
keep
is
going.
not disappointing. The puffs are
Coming in the
just
ball
coming
now.
to him.
Boundary shouldn't be an issue for
At this stage, that boy from Wanji is definitely the wind whisperer because he is leading the match race here in New York.
Pushing boundary.
Australia haven't given up. There's
Just gotta
no
go
way
all
he'll
the way
give
to
up.
make
Tommy
sure that
Slingsby and his crew,
the further we go, the better it
they
gets.
don't know
I'm just
how to give
looking
up.
at feeders to boundary, not time now.
but they're slowly but surely losing time, losing
out.
opportunity. This could be Japan's
standing by,
final
my
attack. Stay on board, hopefully, and you'll hear some nice
Got a
comms
turn
of
for the
going for
boundary.
this attack.
Turning.
Yep, good.
Oh, rake store.
My wheel. I got rake, buddy.
Yep.
You got full camera yet?
You just hear a little bit of
easy-
disappointment
easy
in
lay
Luke
at the
Parker's
moment.
voice there because he couldn't quite get it through
right.
the tack on a full
Looks
foil,
okay for the reach too, boys.
but they're happy that they're going to go up. Australia are coming back here. Australia are
bump's on
closing
fire.
the gauge. You've got a nice little bit of pressure from the right. Will they have
You're
enough?
on fire.
That shot there
Little
tells me
roll
no
and a
because they're
big
going
squirt.
straight into the
One.
gate.
Big squirt here.
And a big squirt. Nathan's called a nice bit of pressure
Really
to take him
soft
in
after
towards the
mark by
finish.
looks of it.
Copy.
And there you have it. Any opportunity Australia have now
Give them a dip.
is slowly but surely diminishing
two, one
because
going
Japan
softer.
are around the
I'll press
top
into it a
mark
bit.
for the
Softer
final
here.
time and heading in towards the finish. What can they do?
Still soft. Pressure coming back in 5. Keep posted.
This unique event in New York City was always going to be won by the team who could maneuver the best, could change modes quicker than anyone else. And what we are watching here is a masterclass in how to sail your F50 in really difficult changing conditions. It's a joy to watch.
And more on us now. Big one.
Listen to their team radio and listen to
Fire
their
up,
voice
Parker.
starting to get excited.
Here we go.
Couple of waves.
Copy.
Yeah, boys.
They're pumped.
Softer in 5.
Copy that.
I'll come up. There's more stuff higher.
Here's the lull. Go, boys.
That's awesome. These boys are very, very pumped.
Yeah,
Coming
boys.
into the finish. So here they go towards the light that's shining on the water
We get a
from
speculator
Freedom
tag.
Tower.
Yep.
Japan are just about to win here
Am I
in New
right?
York City. Well done, Japan. That is quite an
Don't
effort.
hit the mark.
Yeah, copy.
2. 1.
Mate, oh, yep, got it.
They flew to victory. They schooled the rest of the fleet. That is a result. Just look at
buddy.
the joy on their face.
Right on.
Nice, nice.
All weekend.
Revenge has been served.
Finally.
Well done, Goose.
Yeah, buddy.
That's impressive, Shirley. Well done to Team Japan. After what happened in San Francisco, you can't say they were duped. They were unlucky by tech issues. They swallowed it. They've copped it. They've come here to New York City. Revenge was always their catch cry, and they have taken revenge. There's no doubt about it. You've got to feel for the Aussies. This up and down pressure. It's a very hard racetrack, being very, very small. Just didn't go their way today. Look at them. They're going absolutely nowhere. So there's a little bit of an anticlimax there for the Australians. Would have been nice for them to be two-boat reaching into that final finish. So Shirley, how's that for an event?
Oh, it has had everything, hasn't it? I mean, Tom Slingsby, he really took it to Nathan in that pre-start, and you know, he was aggressive, and he paid for that. And maybe we would have a different result if he hadn't had that penalty. But that's what he's like. He's a street fighter. He's a prize match racer. Nathan, though, just kept his cool. He sailed fast, and they sailed so well. Wow, this is going to run and run, isn't it, till we get to Marseille?
I can't see any other scenarios except for these pairs. Well, who knows? But yeah, they're certainly showing their dominance on the fleet. You know, they've shown that no matter what conditions are thrown at them, these two boats always seem to rise to the top. So, you know, the other teams, they've got a bit of work to do, as they all know. But Australia drifting in ever so slowly in towards this finish line.
Just shows the kind of racing they
And you feel like you need to go out there and just tow them into the finish and stop the pain that they are suffering here in Australia.
Okay, this one we will get going. There we go.
Here they go, little bit of pressure coming in on the left-hand side. So at least they might get up and foil into the finish. You don't want them to drift. There they go. Come on, get it up and foil. In towards, look at the crowd in New York there. Everyone's come out to check out these exciting bits of kit on the water. They certainly haven't been disappointed. The race has been pretty insane, that's for sure.
This has been the most challenging venue yet, and these two teams have really showed us how it's done. Very impressive to see. There we go, Australia in second place here in New York.
Well, here we go now. We see at the top of the screen Spain, bottom left-hand corner of the screen, sorry, is Spain. USA tacking in late, but they're going to control that bottom end of the start line, which has been strong. New Zealand up and foiling with 25 seconds to go. They're at the back of the pack at the moment, but that doesn't mean anything for now. In the middle of the line, Switzerland are well positioned, Great Britain are well positioned, and France needs to hold back on some timing here. I like where the Kiwis are, but is there going to be a gap? I don't see a gap for New Zealand. Here we go, timing crucial. Watch for the line to turn red. It's going to be France at the top of the line, United States at the bottom. Who's called it right?
Coming down. I think you roll Swiss first, I'll come down. A good pressure.
Great start by Rottwell, Denmark. Can they get round Switzerland? They're going to have a fast angle in towards Mark 1, and the Danes, can they roll over Emirates Great Britain?
So the race is on here at the first race of the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. It is Nikolai Sehested and Rockwell, Denmark. On their left-hand side, though, you've got Giles Scott and Emirates GBR as they make the turn here at Mark 1, and we are up and racing in New York.
Oh, Lady Liberty's got a look at the Brits on the inside there, and Emirates Great Britain controlled the inside. Great boat speed from the British there. They turn away at Mark 1 first. They will control things. I expect the wind to start getting light ahead of them. Early manoeuvre after Mark 1 should be a strong move. Here go the Australians.
Just keep it going here.
Oh, United States, they missed the jibe. Big mistake by United States. They're off the foils. That's going to be so costly.
Better turn up when we can, guys. Yeah. Get the board up if it's not. Yeah.
Oh, they had a great start there, Todd, but they just tried to force it through the jibe, forcing it hard.
And look at the speed difference here on Australia, 56 kilometres an hour compared to 40 on the Danish. Aussies are just rolling over the fleet now.
Not quite the speeds we saw, Emily, in practice yesterday, but that wind has died down. Hopefully it fills in over the next two races.
Coming in here. Coming into gate 2, Todd, and this will be an interesting decision. Do they turn back to Governor's Island, or is it left turn and hope to find more wind to the bottom of our screen?
Great.
From what we saw in that practice lap before they started racing, we saw more wind away from Governor's Island, but the boundary is a lot closer on that side.
Gate 2, Australia on the inside. They've got the right of way here over Denmark. Denmark need to keep clear at the bottom of the course. Oh, if he can sail him off here, Denmark, if he can stay out of that yellow circle, it's going to be so tight. Almost match racing manoeuvre here. Australia should have rights to turn on the inside. Will Rockwell split? Communication tricky on board there. Tom Johnson not totally sure of Nikolai's plans, but it's just done enough. It's less wind down at the bottom of the course here, Todd.
So as they make the turn at gate number 2, it is Emirates GBR, the winners of the last race in Halifax. Australia sits in second, Switzerland's moved into third, and then it's Denmark, France, and New Zealand. Tough sledding so far for Spain, Germany, and the USA.
I think that's what showed us. It could be the story of the day. If you get tangled up around other boats, you just lose a lot of distance very quickly. Australia and Denmark were really only a few meters behind Great Britain. They fell off the foils fighting each other, and Emirates Great Britain have shot away. But look at the wind. Bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Denmark is looking in a good position right now.
And meanwhile, France can't seem to get moving at all here. Still 2 hulls in the water.
This is the first race of 3. They're on leg 3 of 7. It'll be a quick turnaround, but right now, Emirates GBR, Giles Scott have this thing figured out. And Nathan Outridge, the Wind Whisperer, and the Swiss are in second.
Wind across the course at the moment here. GBR in 26 km/h of pressure. Danish slightly less at the bottom of the screen.
Lisa, we've seen some big clouds out there and some big splits in the fleet. Have you got any idea of which side of the course looks good from the water?
Well, I think where Denmark went, they had more pressure, so they did that left turn. But then as we move up the course, so where GBR is getting now, they're at the top of Governor's Island. That's where I'm sitting. There's a really nice breeze sort of funneling down the shoreline. So it is really shifty out here and really gusty. I think what we'll see is we'll probably see a left turn at this next gate and then early jibe to get away from that lee of Governor's Island. But it's going to be pretty hard out here for the sailors. It looks like those foiling manoeuvres are really tough. And as you said, you just don't want to get in the way of somebody else and mess up your race.
Giles Scott makes the move across, takes the wheel away from Hannah Mills, the strategist. Luke Parkinson's the last man to come across, and now they're up and sailing again, trying to get up on the foils. Maximum speed here as they approach the next gate. It'll be gate number 3, Emirates GBR with the lead. Denmark has moved into second place now, with the Australians holding on to third.
Well, how much does confidence do for you? They couldn't buy a win a few weeks ago, and now they can't avoid them. But Emirates Great Britain just sailing the boat smoothly, and they've got out ahead. You can just see France and the United States, they made a mistake on that first downwind leg, and look, hammered back to 9th and 10th.
Working away.
Slow and steady, calm maneuvers and calm communication on board Emirates GBR. As we said, they won the last event with Giles Scott, the new man at the helm, taking over for Sir Ben Ainslie, who stepped aside into a management role, putting his focus on the America's Cup coming up this fall. But great battle going on here for second, third, and fourth with Denmark, Australia, and Canada.
I think we just saw that little graphic there, Todd, of the disturbed wind coming off the boat in front. It was coming off Rockwell, Denmark, and it was going on to Canada and United and Australia. And that's the fact. As soon as you're back in the pack, there is a lot of disturbed wind. Your first choice is maybe not the best choice anymore. You've got to make decisions based on that. So the art of it is how can you pull back through the fleet, and New Zealand have been that boat normally.
Keep an eye on the Kiwis. They are the current overall leaders in the series after 11 events, and they have always seemed to find a way to get themselves through the fleet. They were back in 8th place, now they moved up to 7th, make it 6th.
Well, but they got stuck on the Spanish a little bit then, as we see Great Britain are firing away out in front. Rockwell, Denmark, how much do Rockwell, Denmark need a win here in New York to give themselves a chance of that top 3?
Danes currently sitting in 5th place overall, 7 points out of the 3rd and final position in the grand final. And of course, they are behind France as well, who sit in 4th.
Left gate by 100 now.
Copy.
Okay, that's interesting from Hannah there. She's saying if you turn left at the bottom here, that's 100 meters less distance that you'll sail. However, does that put you in more wind? Does that put you in better current?
Okay, cancelling.
Communications between Hannah and Giles Scott.
Yeah, nice, boys. Okay, turning up in 2.
That's 1 and in right.
1, working up.
Better keep clean with these little personal battles when we can.
Okay.
Keep clean at Rockwell and try to attack up the upwind.
Copy.
Self-coaching. I mean, that's perfect. It's exactly what you said. If you get tangled up with other boats and you compromise your own performance, you're going to be slow. So expect Slingsby to go straight and turn right at the bottom here with Rottwell Denmark turning left. That gives him the opportunity to sail his own path, his own breeze. So he's sailing a little bit more distance, but he's going to have space. He should be able to go faster from it.
So through gate number 4, it is still Emirates GBR out in front. Nikolai Sehested and Rockwell Denmark have moved into second place with Tom Slingsby, the Australians, in third. And here comes Phil Robertson, the Canadians, top 4 with Nathan Outridge in 5th.
Big wine, boys.
Pretty big gaps opening up here, Todd. Quite surprising to see that, really. I think it's just, you know, as soon as the boats find that rhythm, if they do fall off the foils, they do slow up, as can happen in the pack. The gaps open up really quickly. But New Zealand, well, they're back to 6th, still struggling to get a good start at the moment, the Kiwi crew.
I think it helps Australia here as well that it's a much more open course. They do tend to do better when they've got more space to stretch their legs and hopefully close the gap with that British and Danish team. But it does make it then trickier for the Kiwis. You know, they are sailing up the course, they do sail less distance, but they've just got a bit more room that it doesn't make it quite as easy.
Steve, you know, I want to go back to that strategist role. We heard from Olympic gold medalist Hannah Mills, who's the strategist for Emirates GBR. She is calling things out, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Giles Scott will always do what she is calling out.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's about getting information onto the boat. You can't make good decisions without good information, but at the end of the day, not everyone will see things exactly the same all the time, and you have one final decision maker on the boat. I mean, they'll have decided that. I imagine it's Giles.
We've got to be a little wary of that bottom left corner now with the tide change.
Oh, that's interesting. So that bottom left, so the side in near Governor's Island, they're saying the tide will start changing in there first. So rather than going from left to right, it's going to start going right to left. So the treadmill starts to work against you. You don't want to be in that side and running. You don't want to run against the treadmill if you can help it, Tom.
Yeah, I think if we can get it, it's good. But
tide's with us at the minute.
But yeah, back to your point. There you go. Giles and Hannah are constant communication, but at the end of the day, like anything in life, you need to have one decision maker at the end of it, and that will be decided before the event. Hannah will be given information, but at the end of the day, the buck stops with Giles.
No problem jibing on the mark, Rob.
no issue boats at the moment.
Rob isn't on the boat. Rob's in the coach booth. So that's their coach, Robbie Wilson, and he's talking to them about the big picture strategy. And I think that's a real unique feature of season 4 coming on. The coaches on the shore are communicating live, and they're effectively a 7th sailor on the boat. So there's an awful lot of information coming in. Probably less so from the 2 grinders at the front because they're working pretty hard and they'll be blowing pretty hard. But yeah, it's a big communication game.
Nikolai Sehested, the driver for Rockwell, Denmark.
We'll go to M1. Really nice pressure coming down. Happens to sound a little higher as well.
We've had some interesting tactics here by the Danish. They've worked on covering the Australians, so almost mimicking where the Australians turning to make sure that they don't get that advantage by splitting away from the Danish.
How big a moment for Rottwell Denmark, though. I mean, ultimately, you think about this in the pressure of the season. Australia, they're not in that final. They're not home and dry. There's a lot of pressure on Slingsby here. 3rd place, he'll be pretty happy with that, but he's not going to like seeing Rottwell Denmark ahead of him. Although Rottwell Denmark have just done a poor jibe in the middle of our screen. They've fallen off the foils. They might still be okay if they can pop it straight back up.
Race number 1 will go the way of Emirates GBR as they approach the finish line. The USA in 10th place. They should not factor in this at all. And we will take a bow and hand the first win to Giles Scott and Emirates GBR as they get the win in New York City.
Tight moment there. The United States, of course, have still got to go upwind a little bit and get away there. So it might have been slightly confusing for people watching, but clear win for Emirates Great Britain, and yeah, Hannah pretty happy with the first one. About winning the last one that counts, though, Todd.
Emirates GBR fighting against the lap traffic as they come through the finish line. The USA still has to go down to the gates at the bottom, top of your screen, and then come back up as they sit in 10th. And we got a nice little battle here. Canada and Australia getting together.
Canada had the right of way, but as soon as they leave that mark, Canada have got to keep clear of Australia now. Expect Australia to push. He looks like he's clear ahead. Slingsby just enough, but Phil Robertson, he loves a bit of action on those final turning marks.
The Aussies came round that, though, with 20 k/h more speed, just accelerating through that turn.
So it's Denmark that holds on for second place here in race number 1, and Tom Slingsby, the defending champion in the series, he will take third, with Canada grabbing fourth. Remember, it's 10 points for the win, 9 for second, 8 for third, all the way down to 1 point for last place. And unfortunately, that is where the USA is sitting right now as France holds on to 9th. The Kiwis have salvaged something at us like they always do, Stevie. They will hold on and take 5th.
They do seem very good at the comebacks, but I think they'd still be pulling their hair out on the shore to actually try and get a decent start in there. They're just struggling to quite hit the timing. Again, they're pretty well set to make it to the final on board that New Zealand boat, but Pete Burling talked a lot before the event about momentum, and I feel like maybe the momentum's not fully with them at the moment. They're very fast, they sail through the fleet well, but they've got work to do.
Nathan Outteridge brings his boat in as they cross the line in 6th place after a great start. Remember, they were running the top 3 all the way up to 2nd place after 1 leg, but they dropped back. The top 6, though, not terrible for them. Diego Botín, winner in Bermuda 2 events ago. Disappointing day for them as they will finish in 7th place, with the Germans coming in 8th. And then the battle is on for 9th and 10th. There you see at the top of your screen in the distance, it is France and the USA in a little bit of a match race for the last 2 positions.
It's disastrous for France, that is, Todd. They can't afford this if they want to get to this grand final. Big, big problem.
So it's Emirates GBR that comes to New York City and gets the win in race number 1.
Talk about the ley line, please. There. 3, 2.
Well, what a race for Emirates GBR, fresh off that victory in Halifax, Canada, and they come back in race number 1 and get the win. Not necessarily the very best start, but they were in the mix, Stevie, and everyone else has said, stay out in front and stay away from everyone else, and that's exactly what Giles Scott did. He, Hannah Mills, and the rest of the crew kept it simple.
Well, they were on the inside, weren't they? I thought Denmark were probably the fastest and the closest to the line, but they had the inside position, short leg to Mark 1, dominated from there.
So the France will beat the home team for 9th place, and the USA will finish dead last in 10th. As they make their way now in, less than a minute to go, points at a premium here. Remember, 10 points to the winner, so Great Britain already has 10 points, Denmark has 9, Australia has 8, and the Americans have 1. Only the top 3 teams will race in the event final. That comes after 5 fleet races.
New Zealand have changed things up here, Todd. Look, they've turned back a bit early. They've not put themselves out the back, given a little bit more chance to find a way through here. United States late in. France, they're the boat, left-hand side of screen, that are going to try and wind it up from a long way out. That didn't work too well last time, but if they've got their timing right, it could be a lot better. New Zealand, slow at the moment, but well positioned. United States turn in late. Australia up and foiling, 23 seconds to go. Australia and Switzerland are well positioned at the moment, but it's who's got the gap. There you go. That's our pole predictor gold star on Australia at the moment, but can they execute from here? New Zealand are foiling at the bottom of the line, Australia at the top of the line, and Switzerland hoping for a gap. How's your timing in the middle of the line here? Phil Robertson, he turns the boat down on board Canada, but it's a little too late, and it's going to be Switzerland with the perfect start through the middle. They should lead the fleet to Mark 1, and the Roos are going to come flying in from the top.
Enough to clear the gas. Windward here when we can.
So it's Nathan Outteridge and Switzerland that has the lead. Will they get the whole shot? France is off to their right, pushing Canada also. And here comes Australia and Germany. Those 5 boats way out in front.
Big change here into Mark 1. Great news for the Swiss. They should be well positioned. Going to go straight, but they need to manoeuvre quite soon after Mark 1, as they've been talking about less wind. New Zealand, they're in the middle of the pack, but it's not a great start for them again this time.
9. And angle. Being patient, go straight.
That's the voice of Will Ryan there talking to Nathan Outteridge, and he's trying to get them to turn up. That's because it got very light in their manoeuvre, and they've fallen off the foils nearly. I think they're back and foiling. They should be safe on board Switzerland.
France, meanwhile, completely off the foils up there. Kiwis as well, and the Canadians.
Here, Nathan, then. We're all good, we're all good. Almost sounded like he was trying to reassure himself then, but that is going to turn into a massive lead for Switzerland. It's got so light under the fans on the shore in Governor's Island.
And look at this, almost all the teams now off the foils. The wind has dropped out, so let's go down on the water. Lisa Darman, what are you seeing as far as the conditions, and what are we getting in the next 10, 15 minutes?
Well, I can tell you the French, they're up and foiling. The New Zealanders, they're going to get into the next pressure next. So the best breeze is over towards Lady Liberty. So everyone that is able to get away from Governor's Island for the time being, they should be able to pop on the foils. But it's about patience out here. Look, it is really up and down. It is tricky. I think also when they do that maneuver and they've got to go back the way that they came, they're sailing massive angles out here, and it's pretty painful. But yeah, Switzerland are looking pretty nice with their old flight controller back on the boat, Francois Morvan.
Talking about flight controller, what a shot from the T-Mobile 5G POV camera there under the bow of the Switzerland boat. We saw the foils, we saw how high they were flying, and they did an absolutely brilliant job of that manoeuvre. Look at that, nearly 200-metre lead back in the pack. Well, it's hard when you're at the back, and at the moment, Rockwool Denmark are filling that place, really struggling for breeze. What's the Swiss going to do? I imagine a left turn to all the winds towards the bottom of our screen. If you turn right and head in towards the fans on Governor's Island, it's not a lot.
Which mark has wind, do you think? I almost feel like we're going to come back where we came from.
So Nathan Outer is talking to his strategist. They're looking for pressure out on the water. As Lisa mentioned, conditions very tricky right now. Maybe best to do exactly opposite, Stevie, what he just came from.
I think he'll look to turn back straight away here. Here we go. Yeah, they're going to turn right. It's a little bit what Emily said. That right turn at the bottom's favoured for saving yourself manoeuvres, but you don't want to head too much towards the top of our screen and towards the landmass of that island. Any landmass tends to block the breeze. No skyscrapers, but even in this light winds, even a low landmass like Governor's Island will be affecting things. And New Zealand, there we go. Hocus pocus. He's out of the fire there. Burling's got him back up to third from a poor start.
So Switzerland out in front, France in second, New Zealand all the way up to third, then it's Canada, Spain, and the USA.
And it's a shocker here for the French team, who were doing so well. They've come off the foils in that final maneuver and look like sitting ducks.
How does that happen, Stevie? I mean, is it just, have they just sailed into a pocket of no breeze?
Well, it's a little bit, every time you maneuver, you lose speed, and ultimately, when we see the boats foiling, the speed they've got generates its own wind. It's a speed-generated wind. We call it apparent wind in sailing. It's like when you're driving along in a car. There can be no wind, but if you stick your hand out the window, there's a lot of wind. So the fact that the boats are moving, they're generating their own wind. If you make any mistake, slow down, suddenly there's a lot less wind. And there's what the fact of things, they've fallen off the foils. They've got no speed, they've got no apparent wind. It's hard to get back on the foils.
And on days like these, if you come off the foils, it's not just 50 metres, it's a couple hundred, as we've seen here.
Diego Botín and the Spanish have moved up to 5th place.
And you can just see, look at the screen here, Todd. It's not a lot of wind at the bottom. As you look towards the top right-hand corner of our screen, you can see some dark patches on the water moving down. That's a sign that there will be more wind coming down. But I just think in general, as you move up the course, there's more wind on average. So this bottom of the course, there's a lot of opportunity to overtake, but there's an awful lot of opportunity to have a bit of a disaster and get yourself stuck.
That's good news for the Swiss, who they have come off the foils in the middle of the course there, but moving into that darker pressure now, hopefully extending their lead.
Todd, we've not had to talk about time limits for quite a while now, and I'm a bit worried we might have to if this breeze doesn't come back to pop the leading boats up onto the foils. Australia stuck in the middle of the pack, but Sehested, he's out the back. And that's not good news for the Danes. It's, of course, this big battle for the top 3 grand final places. And for France, for Spain, for Australia, and for Denmark, it's crucial they come out of this first day here in New York with some good scores.
What else is shocking is the team that won the first race, Emirates GBR, currently are mired in 10th place behind the Germans and the Danes.
There we go, Giles Scott. He's talking about doing a left turn at the bottom. I guess if you're last, it's probably time to roll the dice.
It's good news at the moment for the Swiss and Kiwi teams, who are starting to see 20k an hour of wind pressure at the top of their rig.
Look at that, Outridge. He's got the Swiss boat. He's going parallel nearly to that yellow line. What does that yellow line on our screen mean? It's called the ley line. That means you can get to that next gate with no more manoeuvres. So for Swiss fans, it'll be good. Here we go, the Wind Whisperer. Let's have a listen to him.
I am getting a little lift here. I know the left mark is favoured, so we would only take left if you think we can nail the jibe out of there. Go up a bit.
Talking about the plan, so this is Nathan saying it's going to be less distance to sail to a left turn, but I don't mind about distance at the moment. All I care about is staying in wind, so I'm going to do an extra manoeuvre. I'm going to sail extra distance, but I'm going to do it an awful lot faster. So look at that. He can nearly turn left in a one, Todd, but he's choosing to sail more distance to get in more wind.
Wheel coming away in 2, 1, wing down, all the way down.
That was a really nice shot there as well, showing just how long they keep those foils down in the water when it's light like this. Having 2 foils in the water means double the lift, so trying to force the boats to stay foiling for as long as possible until they've built enough speed to stay stable.
And look at the rest of the fleet, all still down at the other gate as Nathan Outridge is looking at possibly lapping some of the teams out here, and it is still Switzerland out in front, New Zealand second, Canada in third, and then France. Remember, the race time is 16 minutes, and we still have a good 7 to 8 minutes to go in this race. So Outridge making great progress here on this leg, but the rest of the fleet is really struggling.
It's just hard if you get off the foils, and we're going to be interested to see what does the Kiwis do here. Do they? Okay, so there you go. Pete Burling, happy to roll the dice a little bit. Blair saying safer go the other way, turn right. Burling says let's turn left, but let's get out of there quick. What a view for the fans there, Todd. Look how many people have turned up. And we saw some fans under Lady Liberty, plenty of fans there in our adrenaline zone, getting the full adrenaline hit now with the Kiwis coming close by.
So Blair Tuke crosses over first. And here comes Pete Burling. He'll take the wheel. Boy, they are really high. Look at that.
Yeah. Andy Maloney not shy to push it. As Liv Mackay runs into the middle. They're looking out. The trouble when the boats... Oh, my, have a look at this. Looks like a great call for the Kiwis at the moment. That could be a deceiving camera angle, but right now,
they're gonna pass
it looks to me like the Burling Tuke team has found the breeze, and the Wind Whisperer, he's lost the lead here. He's having to sail nearly parallel to that course there at the moment. He's making no progress down the course. He's off the foils. Kiwis are on the foils, sailing towards more wind. Looks good for them.
And breaking news, this race will be suspended or ending at the next gate. So this is the last leg, and look at this. Once again, Peter Burling picking the perfect time to make that maneuver as he pulls into the lead ahead of Switzerland.
Tell you what, Todd, there's a lot of pressure on this maneuver. That almost looks a bit rushed. They're off the foils. We just saw in the background that the Swiss were on the foils here. Crucial moments here. Can Switzerland nail the next maneuver?
And not only are Switzerland up on the foils, Canadians are as well, and aiming towards the Kiwis. It is a race now for the Kiwis to get some pressure and get back foiling.
Switzerland's in breeze. I like where the Swiss are at the moment. He should be able to stick this maneuver on board here. Pressure's on. How does he do? Oh, what a perfect time to go to our T-Mobile 5G camera. Does it stay put? Yeah, they're back on the foils. Swiss are going to do it from here.
They're about 300 meters away from the finish line in this shortened race. It is Switzerland who gave up the lead momentarily to the Kiwis, and then Peter Burling and New Zealand have found themselves a bit of a hole as they have lost that lead, and now Nathan Outridge can see the finish line less than 300 meters away.
Just when I said the Wind Whisperer had gone the wrong way, the Swiss, Nathan Outridge, he got it right at the end. Canada up to second at the moment, and they're sailing in that better wind.
Yeah, we saw Phil do an extra maneuver there to stay in the pressure and follow in the route of the Swiss team.
So Canada has moved up to second, France has moved up to third, and New Zealand has dropped back to fourth. Final maneuver for the Swiss.
H1 exit. Transition this heel. Emmett confirming we're finishing here.
Nathan Outridge just checking all the boxes.
Just checking with
making
his
sure. And at this point, Stevie, they can put both holes in the water and just cruise across casually to the finish line. So what a race here in race number 2. It was shortened, but no matter. Nathan Outridge and the Swiss will claim the win in race two here in New York City.
It's tricky out there at the moment. Good work by the Swiss. The Kiwis are back up on foiling, showing his third. They should be able to stick this last maneuver, but for Canada, well, that's a huge moment for them. It's gone very, very well. And of course, for some of the crews, it could be about where they get round the top gate, gate number 3. That could be crucial for them.
Race will terminate in 4 minutes and 40 seconds from now.
Stiff neutral for me, please.
Stiff is neutral. And turning. Rudders are going up.
Peter Burling coming back into play here. He dropped back to 4th. It looks like he's going to be able to salvage a 3rd. So Switzerland got a 6th in race number 1. They get a 1st place in race number 2. Canada a 4th and a 2nd.
And a really rough moment again here for the French team, who were in 2nd, moved back, dropped back. Now they're in 5th and stuck still off of the foils. Now, with a 9th in the last place, they really needed the points here. They are just on the edge of qualifying in the overall for that grand final, and they need every point they can get here in New York to make that happen.
Peter Burling and the black foils cross the finish line. They will finish in 3rd place. But it is Switzerland and Canada that get to the finish line first. They get the 1st and 2nd spots. Peter Burling holding on again, as we said, for 3rd to go with his 5th in race number 1. So the consistency, Stevie, is still there. I mean, they didn't have their best race, but somehow Peter Burling found a way to get the points in 3rd.
Yeah, they made a pretty clutch decision at Mark 1 that really pulled them up through the fleet, and I think that's been the trademark of their season, really. I don't see them having done a great job with the starts until they get to those final 3 boats, but Pete will tell me it doesn't matter until you're in the final 3 boats. That's the only race you've got to win. So, yeah, we see the Spanish here coming downwind. Nice result for them. They tend to do very well in these light, tricky conditions. They sail the boat smoothly. Look at that silky smooth turn there by Diego Boutin through their stay on the foils. They're going to glide across the finish line, and now we can see in the background,
here's the race.
You know, it's really, really tight with France and Australia. The French can't really afford for the Australians to overtake them here, but they have fallen off the foils. We've got 2 minutes and 50 seconds until the race terminates. What does that mean? That means that if Australia and France can get to this gate in that time, their result will stand. If not, go back to the positions at the previous gate. So pretty crucial for Australia and France to make the finish here and stick this.
Tom Slingsby able to take his hand off the wheel and get a good view.
Come on, let's just keep,
All I saw there was anxiety. He just was just willing the boat to get back on the foils. At the moment, it's stuck in the water. He's struggling to get in the water. The French, though, they're coming into the finish. Kiwis really need to get out of the way. A bit of acceleration from the coach boat there. France are off the foils, but they're pretty lined up for the finish, and I think they're going to be okay to stay in 5th. It's so gusty. There's just more wind towards the fans. Up in the screen there, top right of corners, that's where the fans are on Governor's Island. There's more wind there.
And less than 2 minutes now until this race terminates.
So France really has about 1:45 to see if they can drift across the finish line, because here comes Emirates GBR with speed at 25 kilometers an hour, and the Australians still have breeze.
Well, the Australians have really dropped off the foils, and you saw how tense Tom looked on the boat there. He's lost a place to Great Britain. We know how much places mean. Could be crucial for Giles Scott getting back towards 6th here. It's so tight in the pack. Painful for these crews, but that's just how it is. We're powered by nature. Nature turns on and off. Very, very cloud-driven day here with the thunderstorms in and around the place, causing the wind to be up and down.
So a minute away from termination. It looks like France is going to drift across just in time. The big question is who's going to finish in 6th and 7th? Will it be Emirates GBR, the winners of race number 1, or will it be Australia? We'll have to update that momentarily, but it looks like the French are in clean. France will take 5th. Big winners in race number 2, the Swiss. The dance begins. Where do you want to be?
Oh, the positioning's going to be so hard on this start line. It's a short leg to Mark 1, so that inside position, the end of the start line nearer the top of our screen where New Zealand are sitting now, that's a pretty good place to be. But United States, they're up and foiling. Our pole predictor, the yellow dot at the top of the Danish wing there, they suggest they've got a great space, but I don't see how they're going to thread the needle from there right now. Who's got their timing right? Australia are foiling in the middle of the line. Switzerland towards the top of the line, but it's all about hitting the line when it turns wide at speed. France could have timed this perfect. They're coming through on the slingshot. The French look good. Oh, what a blanket start.
Early start penalty, USA and Australia.
Oh, they need to drop to the back of the fleet, and with just a 4-race series to get to the final, pressure on Australia. But France, Delapierre needed a start, and he slingshots out of the gun.
So Chief Umpire Craig Mitchell delivers the news to the Americans and the Australians. They'll have to drop back as they approach mark number 1. This is race number 3 here in New York City, and you gotta like the position of both the French and the British.
Oh, the French are going to be able to hold on the inside there, and it's no distance to the first turn. New Zealand are on the inside. Expect them to split first. They'll be the first boat back out into clear wind, and it's all about the execution of the manoeuvre. Brilliant foiling jibe by the French.
The first 3 teams have all managed to execute that foiling jibe, which we know is critical at this first boundary where it is lighter under the shoreline.
There are the speeds across in both miles per hour and kilometers. Much different than what we had yesterday, as Lisa Darmanin reporting the weather and the wind is cooperated today. It is the French, it is the British, it is the Kiwis out in front with Phil Robertson, currently the Canadians' overall leaders after 2 races.
Interesting to see what happens here tactically, Todd. A lot of the teams looking to keep things simple manoeuvres-wise. Expect a split potentially here from New Zealand, and we're going to learn a lot about the course on this upwind leg. France lead, and they're well set up from here.
Waking up in 2.
Here we go, the British. They need a big result. They had a good first day, but they're just out of those top 3 places. It's so tight in the top 3. Spain, way out the back at the moment. And for the season points, let's remember it's all about that battle for the grand final in San Francisco. And Spain, they will not like the look of this, or will Denmark.
Currently, it is good news for GBR along Governor's Island shore. They've got 28 kilometers an hour of wind, while the French have slightly less further offshore, but anything can change.
So they'll make their way up the course on leg 3 of 7, as Stevie mentioned in the course preview. It's a tight course, Stevie, but there still are places where you can make passes.
Yeah, I think that the hard thing today is finding space. Interesting here, we saw New Zealand in the middle of the screen, and they'd chosen to turn away across the middle. Obviously, if you're France or Great Britain, it's kind of easy. You're leading out of one of the marks, you've got clear wind. It's if you're in the pack, how do you find an overtake? And I think a feature in New Zealand's season has been finding that space when there really isn't a lot of space. There you go, look at them, on their own, no surprise there, heading towards, well, we don't know what wind right now, but they're able to sail the boat free and fast, and that's what they're so good at.
Free and fast, and also making sure they do their maneuvers in the best pressure. We see a lot of the teams sail right up to the shoreline, try and maneuver in a lull and drop off the foils, while here, picture perfect.
There we go, on board with a 5G T-Mobile POV camera, on board with the black foils, the Kiwis looking very good. They are the overall leaders in this series so far after 11 events.
They're right back in it. They've got the right of way over Great Britain, but I think they're clear ahead. They are. Here we go. Let's watch the British manoeuvre here. Hannah Mills already on the new side. She's trying to look for the wind. She's in that strategist role. Ian Jensen, he's across quick. Fast spin on the wheel.
Hey, yours. Straight. Small pressing.
Hannah Mills takes the wheel momentarily. Giles Scott crosses over. Remember, Emirates GBR coming off a big win in Halifax, Canada. Bit of a drought for them, but they are looking very solid.
And currently this would see them through to the final in that lead position, with Canada hot on their heels and the Kiwis. But the Swiss have some work to do if they want to steal that spot and make their first final.
On Canada, Todd, they've missed the final. They've choked, you might say, in the last 2 events. They've been so well positioned after day 1. Can Phil Robertson and his crew hold it together today?
Like we said, Stevie, everyone seems to do well on day number 1. It's can you close the deal when the pressure's on day number 2, and that's the situation today. Only 2 races yesterday. There's normally 3, so we'll have 2 fleet races, and then the event final. That's only the top 3 teams as they approach gate number 3.
Well positioned by Emirates Great Britain. They're going to lead round here. Big lead. Australia have got a penalty for going outside a boundary, I think. We might find out about that. It was a bit off our screen, but for France, for Great Britain, and for Canada, they're well set. New Zealand are going to split the course again here. Should be able to find space with a right turn at the top, but it's been a great upwind leg for Giles Scott.
Coming down. Going further here. Yeah, going further, coming down. No low. 12. Up 5. Stand by. Forward. All the way, hit 3, 2, 1. Turning.
You see the boats that turn left at the top are all having to manoeuvre away from Governor's Island straight away. That shoreline right in front of them. Beautiful foiling manoeuvre by Canada. There goes Phil running across. Last man to cross will be Billy Gooderham, the flight controller. Here he goes.
Get more power out that jib, please.
Steve, it's amazing after all the work they're doing out there for the grinders, crossing back and forth, how calm their voices still remain.
Yeah, I mean, comms is key, isn't it, in this kind of thing, and that choreography is well practiced, and it's absolutely crucial. As soon as you see any of the teams sounding slightly heightened, you know things probably aren't going to go very well. Tempo is key.
So it's Great Britain, France, and Canada.
Pressure's going to increase as we go this way.
Two-time Olympic gold medalist Hannah Mills, she is the tactician. Stevie, what's she seen and how is she spotting that pressure?
Well, she's looking for wind on the water. She's not talking about the pressure they're feeling in terms of their nerves and tension. She's talking about the wind on the water, and she's just looking for darker patches. But I think it's quite a hard read on the water today because there's a lot of current out there. Lisa, you're on the water. How are you feeling? How easy is it to see the breeze out there?
It's really difficult to see the breeze out here, and that's because when the water is moving because of the current, the wind ripples are very different. So the sailors, you look for the dark patches, the ripples on the water. So it is quite confusing. You might think there's some wind there, you go, and it's actually just current. So the current is playing with the tactics as well, but to me, that side away from Governor's Island definitely looks like it has more breeze. It's easier to do those foiling maneuvers. So I think, yeah, it's a really difficult day to be a sailor.
Here we go, Lisa, into gate number 4. This is going to be tight. New Zealand makes the turn first. Then it's Emirates GBR and the French, and they just passed behind them.
Yeah, it was right of way to Emirates and France there, so they've got round. But New Zealand, once again, they're going to lead out of a mark in clear wind. They've got a chance to attack. But last time, that right turn for Great Britain was a good move. They made a gain heading towards Governor's Island early. So let's see if that's the same again this next time. But the first 4 boats, they're away, they're down the road. And for Rockwool, Denmark, Germany, it's time to make a move.
And GBR manoeuvring away from the island there, and they have managed to stay on the fours. We saw the French briefly touch down in theirs, but brilliant sailing by the British team.
Leg 5 of 7. We'll have 2 races and then the event final. And right now, Emily, it's Great Britain, Canada, and New Zealand that would be in there. And surprising, nowhere do you see on there the Australians.
Surprising indeed, but look, they're right out at the back, 9th place and with a penalty.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the penalty. I've heard rumours that they've had a glitch on their screen from our chief umpire, Craig Mitchell, but we'll check back in on that as soon as we can. We'll see the Australian incident, I think, in a moment, potentially out on the water as we see. Here we go. We come on board the Australians. Oh, look at that. They get way high on the foil. Big crash down there. Oh, they've had a big issue there. Excuse us for the language on board. A bit emotional, as you can imagine. They just don't seem to catch a break on that Australian boat at the moment. And, of course, the trouble with flying out the water and crashing down like that is the water's then full. The boat's full of water. Anyway, back to the front. And what a 4 race we've got going on here. Perfect foiling from 2 of the teams. But Canada, they're up to 2nd. They're on the charge, but France have got the right of way. Who's going to call the bluff here? Will Canada try and cross? It's so tight.
No way Phil Robertson's backing down. No way.
Oh, Contant hunted him there. He turned towards him, but I think that was clean for me. The French couldn't quite get to him. New Zealand have space, but Giles Scott's a bit of a masterclass from the British at the moment.
Giles Scott, Emirates GBR out in front. Leg 5 of 7. They'll go through gate number 5, then they'll come back up course and make a quick right-hand turn in front of the fans on Governor's Island for the finish. That would be a win in race number 3. And for Emirates GBR, that would give them a win in race number 1 and a 7th in race number 2 and a 1st. So, Stevie, points would be fantastic for the Brits.
Yeah, so important. And really we see back in 7th at the moment the Swiss. They're the ones that need to make the move. We're on board the French again there. Look how high they're foiling that boat out of the water. Right there, manoeuvred right in front of the New Zealand team. Absolute aggressive manoeuvre, but at the moment it's the Canadians on the charge. They look to me like they're going to be very, very tight with the British. Right of way with Canada here. What does Giles Scott and Great Britain do? He chooses to cross, but it's going to be a very, very tight moment here. Right turn for Great Britain, left for Canada, and it's all on. There's just 1 leg left down to before the finish.
A really impressive leg there for Canada.
Yeah.
Don't forget, at that bottom gate, they were fighting for 4th place and all the way up into 2nd, almost 1st now.
So Phil Robertson's worked a little bit of voodoo magic out on the course here today because he is now back into 1st place. GBR's dropped to 2nd, France is in 3rd, the Kiwis have dropped to 4th, and Denmark rounding out the top 5. The Americans, this has not been their regatta, Stevie, and what can you say? I mean, Emily, why are the Americans struggling so much?
So looking at the data from the Americans yesterday, we saw that the US team were the most dynamic on the wing controls and the flight control. And that does make sense. You've got a new wing trimmer in there who's trying to figure out how everything works, but he might be being a little bit too trigger happy, making too many changes, which is going to make it really hard for Taylor Canfield to drive. So I expect if they can figure out how to get locked in, a bit more stable, we should see some better maneuvers and less losses.
Jeremy Wilmot put into that role, so it's a very tough baptism by fire for him and the Americans as they look to make moves. Meanwhile, back at the front of the race here as we come down to the closing moments, it is Phil Robertson and Canada that has taken the lead ahead of Emirates GBR, and it's one more turn around gate number 6, and it is the Canadians that lead the Brits with a finish line shortly.
Buddies. That's how you sail a race.
Not lacking confidence, Phil Robertson brings it in. The race is not over just yet, but barring disaster, Phil Robertson will be celebrating a big victory. That gives Canada a 4th place finish, a 2nd, and now a 1st.
Great performance by the Canadians there. That puts them in the box seat ahead of this 4th race and in the box seats in the race to make the top 3 here in New York. But so it's been in this position before.
Yes, can they close out on this next race? Canada gets the win here in New York. Emirates GBR holds on for 2nd, and France, Quentin Delapierre in 3rd.
Huge gains by this Danish team as well in this past leg, moving up the fleet.
But they need more than this. They've got to make the top 3 here, Nikolai Sehested. He's not there at the moment. It's a good performance, but they're in behind New Zealand, and they're not that far ahead of Spain. Spain in 6th, and they really need season points. But the big story, 9th place at the moment, left-hand side of our screen there, Australia. We're hearing they've got data issues on board the boat. They're struggling to know exactly where the course boundaries are, hence they've had a few boundary penalties. But the Australians, they need a result here to have a chance of making that grand final in San Francisco.
Don't have to panic just yet with the Australians sitting on 71 points. They're 6 points clear in the overall ahead of France. So as long as they keep France basically from making event finals today and in San Francisco, they're going to be in good shape. But you'd expect a lot more for the 3-time reigning defending champions. And Stevie, they've run into a patch of bad water.
Yeah, they want to keep it in their own hands, don't they? And they want to get sailing fast and the boat working well for them. They look so fast in training, and then it's been a bit of a battle again since then as we see Spain. Solid result here, but potentially not going to be enough for a final performance, although with only 4 races in that race to get to the top 3, it's going to be so tight going into this final race. And there we see top of screen as well, Todd. The Americans, that's now 6 10th place finishes in a row, and I don't think they've beaten another boat since Sydney this year. So that's a lot of pressure on board that American team to start to find some results.
Nathan Outteridge is a race that he'd rather forget. The Swiss team finished 6th in race number 1 yesterday, and they came back and got the win in race number 2. So for them to drop off now down to 8th place, they're going to need a win and some help if they have any chance of making it into the final.
We'll just roll into a slow job.
And it'll be Australia going around gate number 6. The Australians will take 9th, and the USA, as Stevie pointed out, will finish 10th place. 3 races here in the USA on home waters, not the performance they were looking for.
Here we go, 41 seconds to go, and now we can see the fleet lining up out the back. Rockwell, Denmark, they're trying to find space, they're nearly foiling. New Zealand are controlling things. They want that inside position, the downwind end of the line, to try and hope that they can be on the inside at Mark 1. Switzerland, here comes Nathan Outteridge. He's winding it up from range. Tight battle with France. He's clear ahead at the moment. Looks like he's going to have the proper positioning here. It's all about timing, though, here. Who's got it right? New Zealand still off the foils at the bottom. Switzerland, too early. Nathan worried about being locked out. It's going to be Australia in the middle of the line, USA in the middle of the line. Pole predictor sits on Canada. All about timing. Delapierre with 4 seconds to go. Threads the needle one more time. Oh, the French are fast at the gun as well. I love the positioning. Delapierre, oh, he's absolutely nailing it today, finding a way to weave through the crowd. And as they all race away from Lady Liberty, it's going to be a sprint to Mark 1, but France look good.
Great start for Taylor Canfield and the Americans.
Canada are getting high, Todd.
Little loose, they got to back it down.
Oh, just avoid being last, that's what they said.
Here we go, mark number 1. It is the French controlling it the whole shot. They get in the circle first. Then it is Australia, New Zealand, and the Danes.
Oh, it's almost a repeat of the first race. New Zealand are going to be the first to manoeuvre away, hoping to follow the French, but Canada, they put themselves in the pack at the back there. They flew too high, got too aggressive,
Denmark
and Canada
also
have got a lot of work to do here.
Denmark was in a top 5 position, and they came off the foils, and now they sit in dead last. The Americans picking up a penalty as they go out of bounds.
Oh, it's so many little mistakes happening. It's really tight after Mark 1. It's great for the fans on Governor's Island there, but the mistakes come fast and furious. And Australia showing a second at the moment. If Slingsby ever needed a race out of the hat, this is it. But they're well positioned on board that green Australian boat now. France, they manoeuvre. They're struggling to stay on the foils.
Critical moment for the French team. Still down at 27 kilometers an hour. That's not enough to get foiling. They are going to lose that position to the Brits next.
The magic number to look for is 30 kilometers an hour. We see it turn green on the top of the wing there, and that suggests they'll make it, but it's the two old dogs at the front of the fleet. Slingsby, he needs a result. He's getting a result right now, but it's still a race to the final. Canada in there, 6th at the moment. I think that'll be enough for them to hold to a spot in the final.
Yeah, my rake. Yeah, we've got a H1 tack here. Yep.
At the moment, it is just enough to keep Canada at the top of that leaderboard, 31 points. Kiwis and Great Britain tied on 30, and Australia, there's then a big gap, 25 points.
And we've talked about this before, Emily. You can have one bad race in the 5 normal fleet races, but Australia, they finished 3rd in race number 1, they finished 6th in race number 2, and 9th in race number 3.
Yeah, right now, if the Aussies have any chance of making the final, they need the Brits to have a bad one.
Okay. Right now, the Brits are holding down 5th.
Here we go, we're on board Canada along this first leg. So the thing, Billy Gooderham just pushing that ride height really high, and it gets so loose as they get too high on the foil here.
And as they get out of control, they're almost taking the US team out. Look how close those two boats get. You can see them just on the left of the screen.
And we know how close friends they are.
Well, yeah, that was certainly a big moment there for Canada, but they've kept themselves in the race. Great Britain snuck around there. Giles Scott again. Here are the French. Now, how well do they manage to execute this manoeuvre? They get it high again, and the rudders, they just get a bit too slow. No lift on the rudders, and they fall off the foils in the manoeuvre. It's so hard manoeuvring accurately out here in these gusty, changeable conditions. But Australia, big lead at the moment, and for New Zealand, it's all about making the final. It's all about momentum, and at the moment, it looks good for the New Zealand crew to make that final.
We don't want to be too...
Yeah, as you can see on the top left there, Canada, New Zealand through to the final, GBR through to the final as well for just fighting off the Aussies.
It's interesting how a lot of the crews are choosing to come offshore. They're probably a little bit slightly beneficial current here helping them upwind, and the breeze is definitely good offshore. And as soon as you do get away and open out in the race, Todd, if you are in those front through places, what you want to do is control the environment you're in, which is put yourself in more wind if possible.
Well, right now it's showing 13.8 kilometers across the course. Lisa Darmanin, are you seeing any areas down there where there'd be more advantageous pressure here on leg 3 of 7?
Angle. A little earlier inverts there.
No duck at this angle.
Certainly at the moment looks like a big gain to New Zealand by going that little bit further offshore over the Australians. Looks like New Zealand are well set. Australia will dip behind and will split the course. So Australia should be sailing back to where the New Zealand crew made a gain. So this should be good news for the Australians. Potential advantage, but it's a dynamic, changeable environment at the moment. Nothing highlights that more than seeing the British back to 5th place now, and they'll just be clinging to that place in the final.
So at gate 3 is the Aussies and the Kiwis going at it yet again. That's 1st and 3rd in the overall standings as they continue to try to climb and add points to their account. Get ready for the grand showdown coming up in July 13th and 14th in San Francisco.
Todd, think about the race for the grand final. When I look at the results on the left there, Denmark in 10th, they so need big points here. France are giving themselves a chance, but Australia, they might not be in the final, but they were showing as being 4th overall, which when you think about the season as a whole, that's going to be a good result to come away from New York with.
As it stands right now, it would be Canada, it would be Great Britain, and it would be New Zealand in the final today.
There you go, it worked out well for Australia there, Emily.
And USA might not come 10th.
They're up to 9th at the minute, that is for sure. But
Way to go, glass half full. Way to go, glass half full, Em.
It's been a good gain, though, coming offshore. So now it's New Zealand heading back to the advantageous side of the course. So it'll be interesting here. There's going to be advantage New Zealand when the two boats meet again. They'll have the right of way, and it's a real tussle between these two titans.
And the wind has come up now to 15.2 kilometers an hour as they make their way down to gate number 4. Lisa Darman, if you can hear us, are you seeing any other pressure, any other areas on the course that are more advantageous?
I need to go back, so it'll be 2 dragons, Phil. Yep.
Well, it definitely looks like there's more pressure over towards Lady Liberty, which is where we're seeing the gains. Also good shifts, which means there is a little bit of opportunity to sail less distance. The tide is starting to rip out of the Hudson, so that's also playing with the game a little bit. One thing that's really interesting is we have had a few teams really fall off the foils dramatically, so a little bit of messy chop out here, I think, messing everybody about.
Good to know. So they make their way through gate number 4. They'll head back down, and then it's up one more time, and then the right-hand turn to the finish line. And now the fleet in full pursuit of Slingsby and Burling. You've got France, you've got Canada, and you've got Emirates GBR.
Yeah, and you can see these blue marks on our screen running up. That's the direction of flow of the current. So it means making it down to this gate 4 is tricky to judge. You don't want to cut it too fine, otherwise the treadmill's going against you and it's stopping you get round that mark. So it's a really tight moment at the bottom of the course. When you're round there, breathe a sigh of release as the treadmill's taking you up towards the next gate.
Yeah, and when we looked at the tidal models for today, we could see that there was more flow along that shore. So that suggests why these teams are all trying to get close into Governor's Island, even though we know there is a little bit less wind there.
Well, it's just a minor miracle that they were able to clear the traffic. This is one of the busiest areas around with ferries and weekend folks on their boats and obviously international transport coming in and out of here, and now the 10 best sailors on these foiling F-50s have taken control of New York Harbor. And right now it's Australia, New Zealand, France, Canada, and GBR. That's 5 boats battling for 3 positions in the event final.
We've just got to do what we're doing.
It's Australia, that's exactly right. He's just got to do what he's doing. He's got to control what he's controlling. He can't affect any of the other boats from there. He needs to take a win and hope for a mistake from the British crew at this stage. But as I see, in the race for the grand final, which is where Tom Slingsby needs his head to be, and we're on board our 5G, T-Mobile 5G POV camera there. And what I love here is look in the back left-hand corner, those rudders, how high they're out of the water. The white lines are effectively a warning sign for Jason Waterhouse. He's not too worried about it. You can see the flex on the rudder. They're pushing the ride height, how high they're flying the boat. So high.
Unfortunately for the Australian team, in order for them to make it through to the final, the Great Britain team would have to come 9th.
And right now they are sitting in 5th place and holding steady. The interesting thing, though, is you do a little bit of math. If France does make it into the final, which is not really a possibility right now, Australia would just lose the max of 3 points. They would still stay in 3rd place overall going to San Francisco. So right now they're in good shape.
We don't need to do anything special to make the final here, correct?
Yeah, copy.
That'll be a little check from Giles Scott back to his coach on the shore. He's got Rob Wilson. He's got the same spreadsheet as Emily's using to keep us up to speed here. And Rob will be reassuring Giles that no, he doesn't need to do anything too special, as we see bottom left corner comfortably in at the moment. So barring disasters, that will be our top 3 going into the final. So some relief for Canadian fans that have seen finals snatched away from them in the previous 2 events.
Yeah, I think it's going to be that race number 3 that's going to do the Aussies in, where they finished in 9th place, having those technical issues on board, no fault of their own, but that's just the way racing is on these really high-tech foiling F-50s.
As I say, though, the 4th place there, and I do not see the words France or Spain above them on the points.
That's what's important.
So that means they gain points in that battle for the top 3 positions. Everyone they needed to be is behind them. So if you're pragmatic, which I know their coach Ben Durham is very pragmatic, he's going to come on and say, you know, it's not as bad as it looks, it's not as good as it looks. We're still in the final in San Fran.
But you've got to feel a bit gutted, Stevie, if you are France and if you are Spain and if you are Denmark, because this was your opportunity to pounce on the Aussies.
Yeah, I mean, I just see the middle of the screen there, Nikolai Sehested on board Denmark. I mean, they must be absolutely distraught on that Danish boat, because this last half of the season, what looked like such a solid performance, they just haven't managed to find that consistency again.
And this will make it virtually impossible for the Danish to make that final in San Francisco. Now, the Spanish are would still qualify for the final currently, but that gap between the boats behind is a lot smaller.
As they come towards the finish line, it is Australia and Tom Slingsby that get the win in race number 4 here in New York City. Peter Burling, close behind, will finish in second, and the France Quentin Delapierre will get third, but it will not be enough to push them into the event final.
There we go, it's tight back in the pack. Phil Robertson's made it a little bit more interesting, sailed a bit wide on that downwind leg, but he's still going to comfortably come round here in fourth. And Nathan Outridge on board the Swiss boat. It's just not quite clicked for them today. They came in a top 3 position after 2 races. It's going to be a decent event for the Swiss, but still no race in a final, which is very, very disappointing for them.
Well, Phil Robertson has certainly answered the critics, those who said maybe he can't close the deal, and they have done just that today, did just enough. They finished 4th in race number 4 after a win in race number 3, so Canada will be moving on to the event final after a tremendous performance on day number 1, where they finished 2nd and 4th.
Some view of the crowds, it's a huge stadium site they've got there on Governor's Island. Some view, and it's going to be a brilliant final with this breeze we've got happening here as we see the United States, right-hand side of the screen, up and foiling. Nice manoeuvre for them. They're going to bring it home, but the Spanish in 7th still was going to be probably okay in their chase to the final in San Fran.
And the question is Nikolai Sehested going to reel in the Americans? He comes around that last gate with a lot of speed, and now the race is on. Who's going to finish in dead last? And it does not look like it'll be the Stars and Stripes here in race number 4. Taylor Canfield and the Americans will hold on with speed as they come across the line in front of their fans on Governor's Island. The Americans will finish in 9th, with the Danes finishing in 10th.
Stay tuned in, guys.
Tight finish there. That's disappointment for Rockwool Denmark, though. That's a huge day for them. They're going to take some serious regrouping after that, because they've just looked so strong all season.
I'll be a boat, guys.
Here we are, 40 seconds to go, Todd, until the final start. The blue marks on the screen moving from top of our screen to the bottom. That's the current on the water. That's the treadmill that's lifting the boats all up this way. Giles Scott on Great Britain. He'll like the space he has right now, but all the boats are well spread out. I think I'd rather be starting at the top end of the line on our screen. It's the more downwind end, but it's nearer the top of our screen. Canada and Great Britain, they're in a fight. It's all about winding it up now. Pole Predictor has the Canadians in the optimum position at the minute, but Giles Scott shuts the door. Here we go. 10 seconds to go. New Zealand show us the favourites. Can they execute from here? It's all about timing now. Line's going to turn white. How's your timing, Phil Robertson? Beautiful from the Canadians, but they put the bow in. How costly will that slowdown be? On the inside, it's New Zealand. Tactically, they have the right of way, but Canada and Great Britain, can they wind it up? Can they get enough speed to roll over? I think New Zealand are going to lead at Mark 1.
As they approach mark number 1, they go 3 wide here in the event final at the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. It's New Zealand, it's Canada, and it's Emirates GBR.
Oh, look at that. New Zealand had the right of way, and they forced the Canadians and the British high and wide here. New Zealand are going to be comfortably in the lead. First manoeuvre for Canada. Can New Zealand stick this manoeuvre? Pressure on. Great move by Canada. New Zealand match perfectly executed, and right now, big advantage to New Zealand. They hold the trump card.
Advantage to New Zealand, but the Canadians are the fastest boat on the course.
It's a lift in our favour, Josh. Even, you said.
Well, there we go. He's talking there. That's Phil. That's Peter Burling talking to Josh Jr. on the shore. They're talking about where the wind is at the moment. What direction is it? Slight disagreement on board there, but right now I think the priority's matching Canada. If New Zealand can exit the same mark as Canada, which is going to be a right turn for all the boats, I would suggest, then New Zealand will have a big controlling advantage. He'll turn. New Zealand are going to be faster coming in here.
Do you split the course?
Well, I think Great Britain definitely splits the course from here. Canada have got a harder decision to make. An extra manoeuvre could be costly at this stage. Time to roll the dice for Great Britain, but New Zealand, keep it tight, hang around, see if the Kiwis make a mistake.
And the Brits have to make one more manoeuvre, so they decide to split the course, but Stevie, it's going to cost them a lot of time and distance because they were late to make that decision, waiting to see what Burling and Robertson were going to do.
Yeah, well, they were out the back, and if you follow in third, that's a lot of disturbed wind. We can see now Canada, they're right dropping down into the disturbed air of New Zealand. New Zealand will look to turn with the Canadians here. They're all head back towards the side of the course where Giles Scott's British team are, and now the British need a little bit of luck. They need there to be a bit more breeze there. Is it luck or is it skill, though?
And there we go. At the moment, we have a little bit more breeze with the Kiwis at the top of the screen, but only marginally so. The big question is going to be, what is the tide doing at the moment? We've heard that is currently ripping out of the Hudson River. The models had it better Governor's Island side, but that does change.
Ripping out the river. So that means it's moving from left to right on our screen. It's helping them up the course. It's giving them a little free ride up there. But what that also does is it increases the wind speed relatively felt by the boats. And more wind is, of course, good news. So more current, if it's helping you up there, is going to be good news. So still Great Britain are out of phase. They're in the race, Todd. But New Zealand are going to be keeping a tight eye on Canada. They'll look to manoeuvre directly in front of them next time.
All three boats within 100 meters of each other as we go down on the water. Lisa Darman, and where's the pressure coming from? Where do you want to put your boat?
I really think a right turn at the next gate is going to be strong. I think there's a little bit more pressure out of there, and then you're not fighting the current as much if Emily's models are correct. But, you know, New Zealand, they obviously they're doing better maneuvers than everybody else, and I think they're just getting a little bit of a jump. And even in the fleet racing, I thought they're upwind mode, so what they're doing now, it looks really slick. They're sailing higher angles than anyone else.
Well, and they just set it up so well. We're on board here, T-Mobile 5G POV camera, and they're pushing it high on the ride height. That rudder in the back right-hand corner, you can see it shaking around. It's right on the rev limiter there. But I think what they've done well is they put a careful move in above the Canadians on the first turn out of gate 2, and they set it up to just lamp right in front of them and totally block the wind onto Canada the whole way across here. So it's a big gain for New Zealand, total control. Canada are going to have to turn right at the top. Does the New Zealand boat set up to turn to the right? I think they might go left turn, an early manoeuvre on board New Zealand.
The Kiwis with Blair Tuke and Peter Burling directing the black foils around. They make the turn, and it is a left for them as Canada and Emirates GBR still not quite there yet. And this is dangerous times for the rest of the competition because if Pete Burling finds open space and good wind, Stevie, he will check out and be gone.
Without being too putting the kiss of death on him, this race is done, barring a mistake from the New Zealand boat. Now they've got a big enough lead that they can easily cover off any move by the boats behind. It's just about executing manoeuvres, so it's really a race for second here. Canada have sailed a lot of extra distance to take that right turn. That's advantage Great Britain now. New Zealand, well, it's just a bit of a masterclass for the black foils at the moment.
Right now, priority for the Canadians is holding on to that second place. We've seen them too many times hand it up, get a third. And right now, there is that really tight battle in the middle of the fleet on that overall scoreboard. And if you look at that scoreboard, currently they're at the bottom of the rankings of those 4 teams at risk of losing their spot next season.
Canada has been into the event final 3 times this year and yet to close the deal. Right now, master class is being applied to the rest of the field as Peter Burling and the Kiwis, the black foils, Stevie, they get away from everyone. It's almost like they have agoraphobia. They don't want to be around people, stay away from us, and they just do their own thing.
Well, they're just quite fast, aren't they? I mean, you know, the criticism I've always had for them is that they're not been very good at the starting in the fleet racing, and they've made it hard for themselves. But in the 3 boats, Pete's been on fire and a brilliant start. Don't underestimate how well he nailed that start. In total control, they've been able to dominate.
And the numbers are showing exactly that at the moment. They're 1.5K an hour average, faster speed than the other 2 boats. They've also sailed less distance.
So the wind remaining consistent throughout the day here on the second day of racing at the Mubudla New York Sail Grand Prix in New York Harbor. New Zealand, Canada, and GBR in the event final. On board underneath Emirates GBR with the T-Mobile 5G cam, and right now this is not the view that Giles Scott and Hannah Mills were looking for. Winners of the last event in Halifax, they are losing distance quickly to the front runners, the Kiwis and the Canadians.
Yeah, I mean, they were forced their hand at gate 2. I think it was fair enough to roll the dice at that stage. It was always going to be pretty hard once you're out the back, and we can see it's a slight case of, you know, the boat ahead's just got that advantageous position. New Zealand, they've managed to push well in. They don't want to get too close to that shoreline in case there's a bit less breeze, but I think Lisa's saying that there wasn't too bad. The wind seems relatively even on the course now, Lisa.
Around there somewhere.
Yeah, it's definitely even across the racetrack, and because the foiling maneuvers are a little bit easier because the breeze has just picked up in general, it means the differential isn't as bad. Everyone seems to be sticking these maneuvers, but you know, these storms are brewing, so we're really lucky that we got racing in today, and New Zealand's just looking just way slicker than everyone else.
Yeah, I think that's the word of the day, slick, as Peter Burling and team just go about their business. There you see the ripples on the water, Stevie. They just seem to be like a magnet attracted to that. They find the pressure and then they accelerate. We've seen them come out of starts in 7th, 8th place, and they end up, well, you know, top 3.
Well, they're just sailing well. I mean, I think while we're watching this, you see how accurately the boat is. The boat's tipped way towards the crew there. They're gaining maximum righting moment off that boat, maximum leverage on the foils. And I just think, have a minute to look at this. We're racing these F50s in front of the Statue of Liberty, Manhattan in the background. It's unbelievable, the scenes out here. And I think it's a performance fitting of the scene that it's happening in front of on board the New Zealand boat at the moment. Andy Maloney, across he goes. He's going to be happy out there. They're well lined up for that gate. We can see the 2 marks in front. Probably only 2 more good manoeuvres for the New Zealand crew stand between them and the big prize in the Big Apple.
As they approach gate number 5, it is Pistol Pete and the Kiwis as they will make the long ride back up the course, and then it's a quick right-hand turn in front of Governor's Island and the Adrenaline Lounge. Just look how quickly and how smooth they make the transitions. Oh, it's like it's on rails.
Yeah. Well, I think as soon as they're out in front like that as well, there's just the time to have the calm temper. Their comms on board are always very impressive. Right. But we saw in a race yesterday when they were in a tight tussle with the Swiss, they pulled off a manoeuvre where it all looked a bit rushed and they paid the price. But the Canadians here, they're going to be happy with this second place. They've sailed well in this race, but to be honest, when you're up against the best, you can sail well, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's good enough.
Angle.
You see the G-forces, how tough it is to make that transition on a turn. Phil Robertson comes over, takes the wheel.
Yeah, it's the grinders at the front of the boat that have to run across when the whole boat's turning. I think the fact they hang on is absolutely unbelievable. Final manoeuvre for the New Zealand crew here. Should be bread and butter for them in front of the fans to bring it home.
Mark number 6, and it is the Kiwis, the black foils, that'll bring it home and claim yet another victory here in season number 4, and they have punched their ticket into the grand final. Regardless of what happens in the racing in the Pacific Ocean in a few weeks' time, the Kiwis will have an opportunity to fight for the title. That is an amazing performance. That's 5 wins out of 12 events. The Kiwis take the win in New York City.
And that will put them in with 93 points going into this final.
Amazing performance. They came in with an 11-point lead over Spain. They increased that. Great showing by Phil Robertson and the Canadians. As they get into the event final, they will finish in second, and they will take home 9 event points, or season points.
Yep, heading there now.
Emirates GBR will finish in 3rd. So back-to-back finals for the Brits as they win in Halifax and finish 3rd in New York City.
Well, it's good consistency for the Emirates Great Britain team. I think they're going to be pretty happy out there. I think all the teams are going to be happy. But for me, when we look ahead to San Francisco, the timing of Peter Burling on that start absolutely nailed it.
Going up, not down.
And the Kiwis now take a slow parade along the Adrenaline Lounge and the fans on Governor's Island with Manhattan behind them. New Zealand conquers New York City.